Good evening. The coronavirus is a mirror and it makes you look at yourself financially, emotionally, psychologically, and it makes you more conscious than you may have wanted to be in 2020. You are watching Shirley's World. Make sure that you follow and make sure that you check that Cash app and make donations because that's a great thing. And you're also watching Shirley's World, where we're going to talk about the world in which we live in and how it affects our lives. Now, I know I'm going early in the morning because you guys are going to say, why are you going so early? Well, I've got the amazing Tammy Taylor with me. And Tammy and I are going to talk tonight about Black wealth and what is going on with Black people. And we're also going to talk about D.L. Hughley and him passing out. And it's that coronavirus mirror that we're all looking at and how it affects our lives and how our energy level and how every day it's interesting when I talk to people, they don't know the time, they don't know what day it is, but they do know that they need to come up with money for their bills and their livelihood. Now, depending on what state you live in, certain states have opened up, other states have maintained neutral, and some are completely almost shut down. And it has affected people's housing situation. It has affected people's lifestyle as far as communing with people they would not normally like to be with in that much space for that long time frame of being with. And it makes you look at yourself. I'm married to this man. I'm married to this woman. I got these kind of kids. It's making us all slowly wake up to the fact that we need to do something different with ourselves and within our lives. So tonight I wanted to talk about Dale Hughley and him passing out. But before him passing out, he had done an interview, and me and Tammy are both going to talk about it. Hey, Demetrius! Hey, we gotta bring girl. We gonna bring Tammy. We're gonna bring Demetrius in here. Demetrius, let me go ahead and give you the link because I know you're gonna want to chime in. So let me go ahead and put this in the comments section if you want to chime in. And I know it's late, but we're going to talk about Black wealth, and we're talking about coronavirus, that mirror you're looking at, because some people got that Rona look now. They're looking kind of Rona-ish. Y'all know what Rona-ish is? That means like you done gained some weight. It ain't going nowhere. I don't care how much you woke up, how much you may not be awoke, but you definitely got some extra weight on your body. That's right. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to start off with this video that D.L. Hughley put out, and I want to make sure that you guys see this video. That he was on vlog and he talked about how he lost 70% of his income. That's a lot of money to lose. Let's hear it.
Last question. You've been doing this for a long time, but you spend a lot of time touring, doing shows and so forth. That has ground to a halt.
Yes.
Now, you are financially established, right? You are not living paycheck to paycheck under the point of this, so you're okay. But as a whole, when you look at your community of comics and live entertainers, when there is no timeline for live shows anymore, and most comedians, they make 95% of their money that way. Is that a fair statement? You got the Kevin Hart to do movies and so forth. That's a very small piece of people.
It's like Kevin Hart.
Yeah, it's like Kevin Hart. That's
right.
it.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Who else? He does every fucking.
He does every movie. Jumanji.
Right.
Everything. What type of effect for your community of comics does this coronavirus have?
Well, when you ask me what type of effect is coronavirus having in my community, I would ask you about yours too. I would ask you about news. I would ask you about
news is okay.
I think that it has shown us that some aspects of the way we live are unnecessary. More people are going to be working from home. More people are going to be reticent to go see live events. We can now have shows without a live audience, but you've already done that, so it's not, you know what I mean? So it's recalibrating the way people see things. But the one thing that's true, stand-up, the art, has survived 2 world wars, famine, floods, fires. I don't think that everybody is going to survive. Obviously, that would be a lot, but I think the art form will. How people digest it, that might be a different thing.
Because it's tough. All the comedians that I speak to, and I know a lot, they all need a live audience to do what they do.
Yeah.
To do an IG Live comedy special where you're just talking to a screen.
So I'm going to stop right here. And he's going to talk about the 70% loss. The interesting part of me being from California, anybody who's watching who know people in the entertainment industry, What they're not telling you is that they have to maintain a certain lifestyle. This lifestyle may not coexist with their income, meaning that they may float some money, they may live off of credit, they may give you the illusion that they got they stuff together. But in most cases, they are like everybody else. Now, this is a stand-up comedian. He is established. He's been in this game for years. We've all know Dale Hughley. We all know this man, love this man, thinks he's an amazing contributor to the community of comedy. The problem is that a lot of these Black actors and actresses and comics and anyone in that industry are really, really hurting financially. They will not tell you that. They are just like everyone else. And this is what I'm talking about, Rona look in the mirror. That's what you're seeing right now. This is a Rona look. He is telling you, oh yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. But you know, we've survived this and we've survived that. Not unless you have set asides. We're going to talk about that tonight, the set aside income. Because if you've not set any income aside, or you're not prepared for the outcome of whatever could happen in the wintertime, you're going to be in trouble. But you still might be living that lifestyle of Hollywood, assuming that it's going to recover, and it's not. Let's keep listening.
Most comedians can't even really turn up and really do what they do without having that feedback from a live audience. You know, I got friends like Godfrey who do like 500 shows a year, right? Like they're doing multiple shows every night, damn near the whole month. Do you think it's going to hurt a lot of comics?
I think it's for a while until people get sick. But everything, restaurants are going to be here. Airline industry is going to be here. Hotels are going to be here. Cruise ships are going to be here.
Yeah, I interviewed Russell Peters recently. He said that he's lost millions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you okay? He's like, yeah, but still the bleeding. Like, you know, I'm still having to spend money, not having, you know, I assume you lost a massive amount of money while you're booking.
A very decent amount of money is not coming in.
Right. But you've been doing this for 30 years.
31 years.
Yeah. You have money that you put aside, you have assets.
You do and you don't.
No?
Like you do, but if it's bleeding,
yeah.
I mean, you have a certain amount, but there's a certain amount of blood in your body. You know, unless somebody's pumping blood in while you're bleeding, it doesn't matter. But if there's nothing coming in, it's all going out.
If there's nothing coming in, it's all going out. You hear what I'm saying? This is where we talk about set asides. This is where we're going to talk about are Black people or people of color. We're going to pull this one and call it people of color because obviously this man here is not Black. But when we talk about having the money to be prepared for something like this. So when we talk about residual income, what do you guys do or what are we doing as far as do you have rental property? Do you have investment property? Are you invested in stocks? I know Flagship, he may come in tonight and he had talked about a business, a skincare business, so that he's got his regular job and he's got a skincare business. You need to be making money while you're sleeping. You don't need to be living a lifestyle that equates to you bleeding at any given moment when something like this hits. COVID-19 is no joke. It's not gone away and it's not going away tomorrow. So we need to think wiser. So this video that I'm doing, and I'm breaking it down a little bit slower and deeper for some of you guys so that you get to understand that these celebrities who are in this lifestyle are also hurting. And they're hurting the same way you are, just at a different level, maybe a little bit faster because of the lifestyle that they live.
Right.
I mean,
if you're bleeding with no pumping, then
yeah, it's bad. It's going to get real bad. I'm going to get a hurt real bad. There you go, motherfuckers. I said it.
70% of my income went away.
70%.
70%. 70% of my income went away. Like
Just like that.
tomorrow. That's it.
Yeah. All these shows.
Because my whole thing was, I'll make this, but I'm gonna live off this. Right? That's it. I don't want to be beholden to anybody.
Yeah.
So I would do that, but this is what I do. 70% of my income. And so even now, when you're talking about going back and you're restructuring deals, they're talking about 50% capacity or 25% capacity.
Yeah.
The deals aren't what they were.
Exactly.
And so,
and it's not like you could, if you do 25% capacity, in order to break even on your previous estimate, you'd have to charge 4 times the ticket price.
well, you can't. You have to do more shows.
Okay, you gotta do more shows. Now listen, that was a lot he said. I gotta back this up. Hold on.
In order to break even on your previous estimate, you'd have to charge 4 times the ticket price.
Well, you can't. You have to do more shows.
I gotta back it up more.
Yeah.
So I would do that, but this is what I do.
Okay, so he said, I would do this, but I would save my money for this. Or this portion of my money that I make doing this, because you know they wear a lot of hats, it pays my lifestyle. This amount of money I'm gonna save. But when you're at this age, you should have your house paid off. This man should have a paid off house, paid off cars, and had some other kind of cash flow coming in, if he spent his money wisely, if he invested in himself. So again, before I throw a stone at DL Hughley, I say we all have to throw stones at ourselves. There's a self-accountability that we have to look at right now, because this is a reset and a Rona mirror that this man is looking at. This is a reset and a Rona mirror that we all need to be looking at, because here's a situation where as much money this man had coming in, whatever that dollar was, 70% is gone. So now he's living off of 30%. So this man's got to get on the road. He's got to get on the road. And that's the problem in California, is they're telling people, no, don't get out. Don't go to work, stay home. Well, people are getting eviction notices. These landlords ain't playing. I'm sorry you can't get out to work, but I got to pay my rent. The mortgagee is coming after me. Even though they said that, you don't have to move, you can stay there. There's lawsuits flying all over the place. But I want to say to you, like this man, you got two split situations. One is a personality of a lifestyle that's living beyond your means, possibly, and the other one is saying, well, I got some money, a little stored up money. And so, like you heard that other comedian saying, I'm bleeding, but I'm still hemorrhaging on one side and healing on the other side. That's a challenge. And then you're dealing with the capacity of when you do go out, you can't pack and rack like you used to. Dance halls can't pack and rack. Movie theaters can't pack and rack. They have to do 6 feet apart. They have to wear masks. They're not going to be drinking as much, right? Because they've got this mask on their face and they don't want to be unconscious driving. Everybody's a little bit more stop and go kind of situation. But people in this industry, their lives are affected, but so is yours. So my question to you is, that man in the mirror, Corona, are you in the same situation? What is the solutions? We're going to talk about solutions today.
70% of my income. And so even now, when you're talking about going back and you're restructuring deals, they're talking about 50% capacity or 25% capacity.
Yeah.
The deals aren't what they were.
Exactly. And it's not like if you do 25% capacity, in order to break even on your previous estimate, you'd have to charge 4 times the ticket price.
Well, you can't. You have to do more shows.
Yeah.
You have to be more shows.
That's the way around it.
And the way around it also is this.
And plus, some people don't want to go to shows at all.
But there's a virtual platform that people are exploring. People could buy a ticket for a particular performance, see that performance 8 times out at 8 hours or 12 hours or 24 hours, and you can't transfer it to anybody, and it's imprinted, so you can just see it. But I just think that the people who are great at this are gonna do okay.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be people that want to. But it's a scary time. Like my wife is like, I'm booked on the 11th.
Yeah.
At a joint, and I'm booked on the 18th. When I tell you this, it's the first time ever in my career I haven't been touched a microphone in 3 months. Ever.
He says the first time in his lifetime in 3 months he's never touched a microphone. Wow, that's amazing. That's somebody that did not take a break. Let me bring Tammy in, add her to the stream, and let me go ahead and bring Sean Scott's on board. How you doing, Sean Scott? Hold on a second.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing, Sean?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you for coming in so late with us tonight.
Oh, well, I'm up late working, so.
Well, we've got Tammy Taylor from Urban Game Changers, Alabama. If you've not met Tammy Taylor, honey, she is a queen. We got queens on tonight.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Hello? Oh, I'm doing good. You?
Or this morning?
This morning, I know, 2:38. I've been, oh my gosh, keeping late nights lately, just trying to get things done.
Awesome. Shelly, this is the video clip that you played about DL Hughley. You're right. Corona is now a mirror, and it's allowing us to look at ourselves and really pay attention to this world that is now changing. Things are changing all around us rapidly. The business and how we do business, the paradigm is changing. People need to really look into, at this moment, if you have a business, if you've been working, running your own business at home or outside the office. Some people are having to reconstruct their whole business plan and how they can make money. And it's going to force people to step outside of even their comfort zones if they want to to remain relevant in their business and continue to bring in their dollars. So it may even cost people more money to upgrade their systems so that they can make more money. But DL Hughley, on the flip side, he is a raging liberal. So he's everything that he's talking about. You see that he's changing his whole system and how it works. You see, he's getting what's coming to him, is what I believe.
Interesting. Sean, what's your take on it?
But I came in on the last part of that, so I mean, I tend to agree with him. And he is a flaming liberal. And he is getting things that are. I mean, you're going to reap what you sow.
I totally agree with you, ladies. You see it in his energy too. Here's a gentleman that used to be vibrant and strong, and he doesn't look too healthy here. And like he says, "Well, my wife now." I never noticed him start to reference his wife. Yeah, we're all going through saying, "Hey, I got this wife, and I got my older children, and I didn't commit to this and commit to that." And at a certain age, a man in his 50s, not saying he should slow down, but he should kind of leverage, level off, like saying, "This is how much money I have, and this is how much money I don't have." But this is an interesting lifestyle. A bleeding liberal that's saying he's lost 70% of his income, and he's not touched the mic. This is the first time he's not touched the mic, and through his whole career, I mean, you never shut down for your family, and you're telling me you need money and you're struggling, obviously, because what recently just happened. So let's move to this next video, and then let's talk about this one, ladies. This is what happened not too many weeks after that interview that you just saw with D.L. Hughley. Let's go ahead and listen to this.
Starting to get back on the road. Some artists I see starting to do shows outside. Yes, people are starting to get back to work. People are starting to want to go out and enjoy comedy, enjoy entertainment in some form or fashion. D.L. Hughley was in Nashville. I believe this is at Zane's. It's a comedy club in Nashville. And unfortunately, while he was talking, he started slurring his words. Very scary sight, by the way. And best of wishes to everybody who was in attendance. DL just started slurring his words. And before you knew it, the brother passed out on stage right in Nashville, Tennessee. That comedy club, he was immediately removed from the venue, given the proper medical treatment, and he was immediately admitted into the hospital in Nashville, I believe. And we at least have an update from D.L. Hughley's condition from none other than D.L. Hughley himself. He went to the hospital thinking he was just dehydrated, and he found out a little more than that. Check this out.
Thomas Hospital in Nashville. I want to thank them for taking such good care of me. I want to thank you all for your well wishes and your prayers, and you comedians who called such evil things when I was scared to death. Thank you too. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for your prayers and well wishes. When I came, I was being treated for extreme exhaustion and dehydration, which I was very dehydrated. But it turns out they ran a battery of tests, and I also tested positive for COVID-19, which blew me away. I was what they call asymptomatic. I didn't have any symptoms that, other classic symptoms I didn't have. Flu-like symptoms I didn't have. Shortness of breath. I didn't have difficulty breathing.
Yeah, thank God the brother D.L. Hughley seemingly is okay. And I wish you the best of luck, brother, with your battle with coronavirus, COVID.
And also later on, you'll find out that his son also just announced on Twitter that he also has coronavirus. Ladies, let me ask you this question. This man said in the video, he said he was dehydrated, he was ran down. What has this Negro been doing in the last 3 months? Because the rest of us is sitting home, got the Rona bodies growing on us. What is the real story behind this? Because I think personally he's struggling financially, and he didn't want to go down that road. And what to me, what has happened with this coronavirus? You have this revved up engine, right? And it's always going, it's always going, it's always going. And then all of a sudden somebody comes in and pulls the key out of the engine, and you're like flatline. Your money's going, you're depressed, your weight's coming on, You got other personal things you can't say on camera. And then you got to build that energy back up again. And I think his body went through a shock. I think financially the brother might be hurting. And we all need money. We all are going through these shock waves. What do you think it really is going on? Because how can you be dehydrated when you've been home for 3 months? That's what
I absolutely agree. I think that the lifestyle is catching up with him in this moment. I mean, like you said, if you're home for 3 months not working, all you do is have time to eat and drink. I mean, that's one thing you're not gonna miss is a meal and a drink. I believe he is struggling financially. You can see it actually all in his eyes, even when he was doing the interview before he found out that he was ill. I didn't even know until I seen this clip that he was ill and passed out. I didn't even know all of this. So looking at it, the way he fell on that floor and hit his head extremely hard, I mean, he was knocked out. But you could see it in his face, in his eyes, that there's something is bigger than him not getting a check. I believe his whole entire lifestyle of being such a meanie, such a raging liberal is catching up to him. It's all catching up with them. I mean, even with some of our basketball players, like I remember having a conversation with you, and we realized that even basketball players, some of them might not even come back to play ball after this, because
I was thinking that too. I mean, some of them are on the verge of retirement now. I think they're done. I think you're right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you make a good point. You've been ripping and running. He just said it's the first time in his career since he haven't touched the mic. Here's the first time in these basketball players' careers where they're not running up and down the court touching a ball. And some of them not even in the gym, like Kobe stayed in the gym. That's why Kobe was phenomenal at what he did, because he stayed in the gym even when he wasn't on the court. They said he perfected his every move. So you have some of these ball players, I mean, they live a fast life. And I believe that it's going to affect a lot of Hollywood. You notice many of them are not even having these kind of conversations. I'm surprised that D.L. Hughley even did an interview talking about his current situation. It's actually forcing some people to come out and just be real with it, but still hide the fact that they're hurting financially. But this is what Hollywood, I call it Pedalwood. Pedalwood is actually getting what they deserve, and we're all seeing it play out in real life.
Absolutely. Before you come in, flagship, Sean Scott, what's your thought on this?
I think that these people have put their hope and trust in something other than God. And, I guess when you do that, and when the rug is pulled from under you, you just can't handle it, even for those of us who may be dealing with some things financially, our hope and trust is in God, and we know that He's going to make a way for us. So we don't view things as the world views things. I mean, for him to lose a lot of his material wealth, I think his identity is in that, and so I guess from his perspective would be that he doesn't have anything, I guess, like to live for, because that's what he's doing. But when you're living for God and you have your trust in God, I mean, at the end of the day, to die is gain. It's like we don't have anything to lose. So that's how I see it. I mean, that these people, they have come to the end of themselves, and they just really don't. They have no hope. So,
and I have to agree with you, ladies. When we think about you reap what you sow. Mm-hmm. And you have this rage. I've listened to him speak before. He's a stark liberal. He supports illegal immigration. It's a lot that I hear him say that I go, oh my God, how do you have so much venom in your energy towards, instead of having a conversation, it's just more of a attack energy that comes out. And we all know who believe in the spirit of discernment that we have to be conscious of how much energy we put out and we put in. And there's only so much I want to listen to those kind of people, because I really believe that there's a spirit of oppression upon them. And I told you, coronavirus is a mirror, and it's affecting everyone's wealth, lifestyle, and how you look at it. How do wealthy people, how do we come out of this? And that's what we're going to talk about. But here's a prime example of someone who you would think, well, he's an entertainment, he's got it together, but does he really have it together? Flagship, thank you so much for coming on board. I know this is early in the morning, my brother, but
let me give me 5 more minutes. I'm getting my drink and stuff together for the show. Just give me 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll look at you. Take your 5 minutes, and I'm gonna keep going. So
Okay.
as we talked about, go ahead and put yourself back on mute. So as we talked about D.L. Hughley in the present, let me show you what he looked like in the past. Some of y'all don't know D.L. Hughley, the back in the day. I got to show you a little bit back in the day. Look at the difference in the energy of this man back in the day versus now.
Don't matter how fucked up the car. Sometimes the phone the best thing on the car. You can tell the car raggedy. Every time the phone ring, car just cut off. Hey girl, I'm glad you called. I need a jump. Nah, you stop calling me, I'll never get home. It's fucked up, man. I'm glad to be here. Not like in Los Angeles. I play a lot of clubs in South Central, man. They be shooting. Old pro gangs don't got no guns, walk around throwing bullets at people, y'all. I need poor gangs with no guns or bullets, walk around with signs that say bang. Nigga, I got you. You supposed to be dead. It's fucked up, man. It is, because we shoot over colors. Can't wear red because Crips will beat you up. Can't wear blue because Bloods will beat you up. Last night, thought I was slick and put on plaid. 2 gophers fucked me up, y'all.
So here's this man. I'm sorry about the vulgar language. I know he's gonna be cursing so much. But see the energy level, see the energy and how he was young, he was vibrant. You have to start to wake up and say, okay, now I'm getting older. I need to invest. I need to put some set asides. And so I wanted to show you someone from the past, someone dealing with the present coronavirus, and someone that just passed out because of health issues and emotional issues. So if we all have a little bit of this in our lives, where do we go from here? What do we do from here? And so tonight I'm going to talk about set-asides, and I want to talk about the richest Black, wealthiest communities that a lot of you guys don't realize. There's some Black people that have communities that are very successful in. And one of the reasons I think people are successful is because they hang around successful people. Those successful people are not just successful because of entertainment, but because they've invested in themselves and they've invested within the communities. So I'm going to play the video and I'm going to stop and talk in between. And ladies and Dimitri, I would love to get your input on this wealthy community, because if we don't live in this type of community, we can still create that environment within our surroundings. But what are the criteria to have a wealthy environment? What are the criteria to have a mindset of wealth? Because obviously Corona is a mirror, and I want to look different when I come out of this. I think all of us should come out better. Like I told you, there's profit in pain. There's a profit in pain. And everybody's pivoting off of Black pain because, as you know, Black lives don't really matter. They just using Black Lives Matter to promote their matter. So we need to promote our own. But before we promote our own, we have to know who we are, what we want, and where we're going in this. Okay? Don't be caught up into the liberal mindset like Hughley, who's going to be ranting how bad Trump is and all that other stuff. You've got to watch your energy distribution, because energy distribution affects you mentally, emotionally, and financially. But if you go to bed and you're doing good affirmations and you're saying good things to yourself, and you're being around people who want to succeed and want you to succeed, and you guys are talking about ways of strategizing through this maze of this Rona mirror, and that you're not letting your mind and your body become depressed, and you're learning to pray and say, God is great within me. I can do all things through Christ Jesus. Even if you're not a Christian, you should pray. You should meditate. You should have a soundness within you to have a calm spirit, to quiet your mind so that you can understand wealth and to have the commune of wealth in your diaspora and in your thinking. There might be a concept or an idea, like I said earlier with Dimitri and his skincare line. You might say, you know what, I got a friend that wants to partner up. You might have like $500. You might want to invest in someone's business. Or you might want to sit back and start doing some homework to have some self-improvement. But that's part of a community that is a responsibility that starts with you first. You cannot continue to live this month-to-month lifestyle. I think that's number one that we have to look at. Ladies, what's your thought on that before I play this next video? Anyone has any thoughts?
I have to sit there and say, I have to agree with you always. And one of the things is that what ticks me off about what's going on right now with Black people is that this is the effects of having a horrible school system and Black people not sitting here and standing up with these liberals, because the liberal mindset is ignorance. Don't worry about money. Worry about, dancing. We'll do the money for you. Don't worry about money and budgeting and understanding the economics of the economy and things of that nature. Just go over there and do help with LGBTQPIA or whatever. Don't worry about this Black people. And now we're in a situation that all these things that D.L. Hughley was standing up for, guess what? Guess who's not hurting right now? White folks. And I got white friends. Let me tell you something. The problem that they have is they're pissed they can't go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Let me tell you something. That's a problem I wish I could have. And so this is what happens when we deal with these damn Democrats, and we sit here and deal with these feminists, the LGBTQPIA, these open borders that everybody in, whatever. Because guess what? All that everybody money that those immigrants receive, that could have been everybody money right now to help us get through this coronavirus. So the thing is, I don't feel nothing for D.L. Hughley. I hope he loses it all. Honestly, let me tell you something. Like I told you, how I am. I am heartless because we're the ones out here getting our asses kicked. We're the ones out here losing it all. And these damn liberals these alleged black liberal / leaders who we believe all these different things for the longest period of time, all this stuff does not help us tangibly. Period. And even in the midst of all this stuff that's going on, where there's really no resources for Black people, they don't even look and see that Joe Biden was the one who set it all up. They don't even look and see that it was the Democrats who set this whole thing up. These police officers killing us in the streets, this was set up by Hillary Clinton, set up by Joe Biden, because they said on the Senate floor, they said in front of the press corps and said, Black kids are super predators. Well, what the hell how the hell you think that police officers are going to behave? You think they're going to be like, oh, they're not super predators? Hell nah. The leaders of the world said Black kids are super predators. The police are going to respond in kind. Period. So, and that's why I don't feel nothing for him, because I saw this video. He's getting ready to go on Trump and all that kind of stuff. I hope he loses it all, unfortunately, because he doesn't get it, and unfortunately, Black people still don't get it.
I think you're exactly right. And I think that kind of mindset and that voice at the table, that type of voice does not need to be on the table anymore. We've heard that rant. We know that story. We've had that alphabet soup. We don't need that anymore. We need a fresh new concept of capitalism within our community, from our community to our community. And if we're going to hear somebody who continues to rant about government leniency, meaning that we're leaning towards socialists and communists and authoritarianism and having us all cooped up, and we're not going to be expanding on who we are as individuals, we're not going to grow. Everybody else is growing. Every other culture is growing. White people are definitely growing. But we have people like this who have large platforms and who have notoriety names. And for some reason, this man never evolved. This brother never evolved. But guess what? This Rona's making him look at himself. Sean, before Tammy comes in, Sean, what's your thought on this?
I'm sorry, I zoned out for a second. I'm working. As far as DL and Black Lives Matter?
Yes.
Okay. I think Black Lives Matter is a sham. It's a scam, and I do believe people do profit off of pain, off of Black pain. So I totally agree with both of you. And these people like DL, they've been gatekeepers for a long time. They are a part of the problem. And,
say that again there. What gatekeepers?
Facts. Go ahead, sister.
I agree.
Gatekeepers, people that keep the Black collective in line. You know, you have the liberal elite, basically, who put out how they want us to think, how they want us to feel, and all these other things. And when some people get out of line, when they start to actually think for themselves, then you have these gatekeepers who go out here and they get them back in line, so to speak. And they do this by coming on the talk shows and backing up those talking points, or in their comedy acts, or in their sitcoms, and just we have people in the Black community that have been put on a pedestal. They've been idolized, and so unfortunately, instead of listening to reason, common sense, a lot of times people will listen to these people that they put on the pedestal, for what they should think or believe, instead of looking up things for themselves, basically instead of thinking for themselves. So people like DL, they're like gatekeepers. They're making sure that
I agree.
Stay in line, and they think the way basically that these people want them to think, do the things that they want them to do. This Black Lives Matter is not even, it was started by two homosexual women and I think a third person, but it has nothing to do with Black lives, and the money that is received from Black Lives Matter doesn't even go to Black people. It is funneled through Act Blue, which goes to the Democrat Party. So, but when you tell people this, they got this deer in head. Look, you know what I'm saying? It's like, hello, wake up. These are facts. I mean, and it's information that is readily available online. They would just think for themselves.
They say that's Russia. See, they blame Russia on everything.
Say it again, John.
It's stressful talking. It's stressful talking to my parents about this shit. That's why over the phone I just say yep, yep, right on.
I had a discussion.
I don't argue with them.
Well,
I don't argue with them.
I say continue to speak the truth and continue to pray for them, because my mom voted red for the first time in the primaries last year. So, and she's been a Democrat her whole life. Why? Because she was told to be a Democrat. She really didn't have a reason. But when she started, I just continued to tell her things, that were true, meaning, okay, they're telling you this, but this is what is actually going on. Just giving her the information and allowing her to think for herself. And I think it was with the Kavanaugh trial, when all this stuff came out, she was like, that's the final straw. There's no way that I would ever vote.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's about having those conversations.
I don't know this.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
But I don't know, man. It seemed like a confirmation bias. Like with my pops and everything, he don't even support illegal immigration. That's something that me and him can 100% agree on. But I said, man, the other side is literally gonna put you in the meat grinder, big homie.
Yes.
Because when they open up the borders, who you think is gonna be replaced first? Us. They come to our neighborhoods and make it their hood.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Then bang on us.
Right. They're going to go to the gated communities and settle there. They're going to settle in the lower income neighborhoods. So.
Because they put the sanctuary cities in our blocks.
Exactly.
Well, you have a situation now where the African American community. Let's look at where Shirley is in California, where we're actually fighting for the rights of illegal migrants. Excited for
I'm in California too.
The African American. Oh, hold on. Can we just kind of mute our phones, guys, until we're ready to come in? It's making it difficult to hear and difficult for everyone to listen. If you're not talking. Hey, Sean, are you on mute?
I'm trying to see where I'm at here.
It's okay. It's on there you go. Good job. Thanks, Sean. So I was saying that we're busy fighting we're our own worst enemy is what I want to say. We're fighting for the rights of illegal migrants that is literally taking away from our African American communities. When I heard that Compton was 6% African American today, I see that as a huge issue within the Black community all the way around the nation, where we're fighting for the rights of the people who has nothing to do with America and the legacy of our ancestors, but we're fighting tooth and nail for them without setting any standards or anything for our futures, for our children's future. We're not having that discussion, but we're on the front line for illegal migrants. And we have situations, someone mentioned that they saw that some of these celebrities are stumping for these Democrat candidates. You are absolutely right. Look at Jay-Z and Beyonce. They're on the stage with Hillary, with Joe Biden, and what's his name? Charlemagne the God. He was more respectful to Biden than he was to Miss Angela Stanton, who's running for Congress in Georgia? I mean, she literally ate those guys' lunch on the Breakfast Club. I thought she was the host, but they were very disrespectful to her, but they really didn't have an argument because she set the tone. And but they were not that brutal to Biden. They were literally kissing Biden's ring, and never even confronted him about the "you ain't black" quote. And this is the problem with our African American community, where we are hurting ourselves. We are putting ourselves in the worst situations ever by fighting for issues that has nothing to do with us, like Black Lives Matter, like you all just pointed out. Like Sean just said, the money is going to Act Blue. Why isn't it going directly to Black Lives Matter? Because Black Lives Matter don't really matter. It's not about it. They actually openly told us with their own mouths that their main agenda is to get Trump out of office. It has nothing to do with Black lives. These Black lesbian starters of Black Lives Matter, their main goal is to tear down the structure of the Black family. These women do not love Black men. They do not love Black men. They despise Black men, but they love a gay Black man. They do because their role is their main function is to tear up the Black family, which takes me to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where my husband and I took a trip all the way to Tulsa from Alabama. We get on National, they interview us right before we're going into the gates to the rally, and they interview us. Our picture goes viral. That's the one Shirley was in it, if you all saw it. Larry Elder posted it. I guess Ryan Fortner, for Trump students for Trump. It went viral. They all reposted my picture, and we literally are still being slammed on social media, being disrespected. I mean, they're calling us all types of names. I mean, this is just a family, a Black family. We had our children with us, and this is the idea of we are a threat to the liberal nation right now. They don't want to see a family like what showed up at the Trump event in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So they're literally trying to destroy us at every turn, because that's the picture that the liberals don't want y'all to see.
Well, can I say something about the picture?
Yes, sir.
The picture was beautiful, but in the future, don't put your kids in the video, because these liberals are going after kids like no one's freaking business. They are going after children. There's no rules with these people. They're the devil, period. And just for your safety of your kids, because they're gonna go after their kids. They're gonna go to they're gonna try to find them in kindergarten. Go after their teachers. If the teachers never, their teacher's gonna do something. These people, there is no rule.
We're homeschooled.
Oh,
so
good. Okay, cool.
This is why
cool. But the problem overall is with these liberals. They think that they do kind of own us. But I think what's going to happen is that I think there's going to be a rude awakening, because I really don't think that people are going to be voting like these liberals think that we're going to be voting. And these flash polls that these Republicans are doing are realizing there's blood in the water with the Democrats. A lot of people are not supporting the Democratic Party right now. And especially in liberal states. So I think that there's going to be a huge wake-up call. But then again, there's gonna be a huge rush of illegal immigrants voting like they did in the 2016 election, which no one's talking about. But this is really sad. These Democrats and what they're doing to us, they really are destroying the people in broad daylight through the concept of benign neglect. And I'm done in every way with these Democrats, with these liberals. I have no feelings for them. I don't care about their money. I don't care about D.L. Hughley. And I think that what needs to happen is maybe we need to have a civil war within Black society, just like the Spanish Inquisition. Because remember, the Spaniards, they had a civil war, and look, they turned that into a whole entire wealth distribution thing, where the whole country became wealth. Maybe we need to do something similar to that. Because the thing is, I'm not going back to these liberals. I'm not going to sit there and hate Black family and go after Black men. They want to use they turn the whole movement from Black men to Black trans. One Black trans person died last year. The whole thing's about Black trans. I'm sorry. I do not care about Black. I care about Black people as a body politic. I'm not going to sit there and segment out Black trans and leave everyone else to die. So what, 300,000 Black trans in the world? 300,000 Black trans men. We're gonna just talk about those people and then leave everyone else to die. If they don't sit their behind down and leave us the hell alone, I'm done with these people. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, can I just say this? I thought something was funny. I just got done watching like old interviews of basically Trump with all these celebrities, and it was with him and 50 Cent, and Puffy called and he said, "Oh, you sitting down with the big man." And now now it's a whole switch. Now he acting like, "Oh, I was never really cool like that. Whoop-diddy whoop whoop. He a big bigot." But I realized that Puffy had a charity that old boy donated $1 million to. I said, I said, that's when I realized that this is some bullshit. I'm sorry for cussing Miss Shirley, but nonetheless, younger Black voters, even Washington Post admitted this, that Biden only has like 57% to 55% approval when it comes to younger voters. And that shows you that damn near half is going the other way. And that's a logistical nightmare, like Flagship was mentioning about as well. That's a logistical nightmare for them. And this "you ain't Black" going on the Breakfast Club, that pretty much put a nail in the coffin. If you look today, that interview is the most disliked video on the whole channel.
But then also, can I add something to what you're saying too? Look, we have to break down Joe and his side piece, Jill Biden, little nasty, little ratchet ass. Mind you, I don't care how many degrees you have. If you are a ratchet ass mother, you are a ratchet ass hoe. There is no different than what they allege Black women are in the ghetto. Let me tell you, she's worse than that. We have the same time that I'm gonna use the term that Jason Black uses. Jim Crow Joe was writing all these bills to put Black men in jail. Meanwhile, crime in the Black community was plummeting. They wrote another crime bill about drugs and all this other stuff. The same time, Jill Biden was raising 2 base cokehead and marijuana ass kids, all addicted to drugs, all addicted to cocaine, all addicted to meth and all this kind of stuff. All kind of multiple rehabs, covert rehabs, come to find out. And he's writing bills to put our kids in jail for a little bit of weed. That's how diabolical these Democrats are. They're just barbaric. And then at that same junction. Exactly. And at the same time, so you think, okay, it was just a phase, he's gonna grow out of it. Come to find out in college, they were still addicted to drugs. And then he got kicked out of the Navy because he was addicted to cocaine. So just imagine that he couldn't even save his own son. His son was such a shithead and a cokehead, excuse me, Shirley, that Joe Biden, as powerful as he is, he's the vice president of the United States, could not save his basehead son from getting kicked out, dishonorable discharge from the Navy. Meanwhile, we are all up in jail over a little bit of weed, and yet his son gets to get kicked out of the Navy. Then, not to mention that he didn't lose anything. He didn't go to jail or nothing. He then gets to get put on a board, getting paid $60,000 a month to go into the Ukraine and do some fraudulent oil deal. Now, if DeMarco or me, if we go to jail for coke for a little bit of weed, we have no chips on the table. Degree, no degree. We could be Nietzsche. We could be the best program. We don't get a job at all. But this cokehead gets to keep going up and up and up and up and up and up. And this is the difference. This is why I can't stand these damn liberals. But yeah, you're gonna sit there and say that Tammy is a bad mom because she sent her kids to a Trump rally? Are you insane? If you don't get your nasty, rancid hoe ass about the goddamn page talking about Tammy, you can't come up over here and talk about sister girl. Your kids are base heads.
Yeah,
Trump said, "Where's Hunter?"
Where's Hunter? But what Demetrius was saying, a lot of my homies, they ain't voting for Biden. They said we scared of a 2021 crime bill because they said we don't care what the media wants or what America, quote unquote, wants. We trying to stay away from another crime bill. And the funnier part about it,
amen.
Even more funnier part about it is even certain liberal pundits is starting to realize that Joe is struggling against younger Black voters. You see, yeah, because it's a logistical nightmare. Because if Biden only has 55 to 57% of the young registered voters from 18 to 29, then that shows you that 45 can potentially have 40% approval rating. So the shift is coming lightly. But people also that media be having an omnipresence when it comes to this bullshit, trying to make us into coons. Nah, I ain't no coon. I'm just not for illegal immigration. That's my beef. That's just my beef.
They already predicted it. They already predicted that Trump will get up to 50% of the Black vote, and that if Biden wins, that many Black folks will be in chains. Literally, like. That's not even like many more Black men will be in prison. We all predicted it, and that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, we're looking at it from the standpoint of how many Black men are already in prison. Trump had to come up with a whole reform bill to get many out of prison, and so, but yet the Democrats are telling us that he's going to put it. Actually, it was Biden. He's going to put y'all back in chains. But yet he frees them like Moses, and now Joe, once he get in, I guarantee you that they will do everything that they can to continue the project and the movement that Obama and Hillary started. They're going to finish their mission to bring America down to its knees. And we just can't have it. But I guarantee you, they're trying to even manipulate us now to tell us that President Trump base is not as huge as it was, and that Biden is winning in the polls. The same trick that they told us when Hillary was running against Trump. They're pulling the same movements, and we're not falling for it this time. Trump is going to win a landslide. And you think they're going like crazy right now? You think it's crazy right now? They are going to lose it. They are, and that's why they're literally trying to come out in droves, like losing their minds out of right now. It's about to get crazy after Trump wins.
Could I say something to you guys? And I want to, because I've been putting this, because Shirley, while you've been out gallivanting, leaving everybody else behind and going on trips and things like that, and leaving, all of us behind or whatever. No, just kidding. I've been sitting here thinking about this. I know you're going to have a show, and I want to throw something out there to you guys. And if I'm crazy, just say, Demetrius, you crazy, and then I'll shut up. I still believe, even though the coronavirus is real, and China is locking people in their houses and welding them shut, I still believe that the coronavirus is something that could have been manageable. I don't think that it was as crazy as it could have been, and I do believe that this is all being set up and it's been planned. Just bear with me for a second. It'll be like, I'll get there in like 1 minute. Okay, so the coronavirus is something, come to find out, that it's something that's kind of just been out and around, and it really affects people who are, who have comorbid conditions, and maybe the elderly, maybe young people who have comorbid conditions, so on and so forth. But it seemed like it was manageable. And I was watching something on Jimmy Dore, who had the scientist on, that said if we would have just wore masks, it would have probably just plummeted to like less than, it would have been nothing near what it is right now. But we didn't get that information. It is whatever. It is what it is. But it's just we got the coronavirus came about. Then we were artificially told to be poor because we had to go in the house. We obviously know we're not going to get paid the same. The Congress didn't take care of us. They took care of all those who were already in power, the wealthy. And they were in the house for 1 month, 2 months. And at the same point in time, Black people are not voting for the Democrats. They're not going to give us anything that's going to help us in our communities. They need to get us angry and they need to get us reminding them about racism. So then we get involved because these police brutality videos were coming out all throughout the beginning of the quarantine and running wall to wall. And then of course we're in for 2 months. You have the protests with the people talking about opening back up, so on and so forth, and kind of giving people the idea, get out the house, start being angry, start being mad again. Then more wall-to-wall coverage of like more police shootings, which are bad, which are horrible. But keep in mind, like I said before, the Democrats invited, set the whole thing up. Let's just keep it a buck. And there's no economics going to the community, but there's immigrants who come from cocaine-producing countries and gun-producing countries. So let's just put it on out there. This is all engineered. And then the George Floyd situation, and then everything just freaking exploded. And notice how it's the same media that were telling us, oh, don't worry about things in your community, focus on these issues or those issues that have nothing to do with Black people or helping our communities or helping our families. And I just firmly believe this is all set up because Black people are not, but there's a huge contingency, not just Black people voting for Trump. There's a huge contingency of Black people who are saying, I'm just not going to vote at all. And we saw tidbits of that in 2016. But it's now exacerbated, it's now gotten worse. So they needed something racially to blame on the Republicans, blame on white police officers, and so on and so forth, to get Black people reminded about racism and go vote for the Democrats. They're going to be our saviors. They're going to be our Jesus. They're going to be our masses. That's what I think is going on right now. Because, but then again, at the same point in time, they're doing all this symbolic stuff with the Kente cloth meal, but they're not passing no policies to regulate the police. So again, it's not anything tangible that's going to happen. It's all just stagecraft. And I just think that based on that information I just gave y'all, it's all a scam just to get Black folks to keep voting for LGBTQP, which are code for rich, racist, white gays who hate Black folks. Let's just keep it a buck. They don't get it twisted. In the 70s, they had white-only gay clubs. Tariq was talking about this on his show, where these white gays had whites only, and the Stonewall riots was basically about race because the police came to raid the place. They said, oh, go get the Black folks up over there, and they started fighting the police. Let's keep it a buck. And so the gays are just as racist, not more racist than the alleged Republicans. And so my whole thing is, and so what happens is you have these people like Billy Porter, who is obeying Massa, also known as his white husband or boyfriend, who the bottom line is they're paying all these white gays to go around and talk sleazy about black heterosexual men like there's a problem. And they're all just doing this, just keeping this whole thing going, and just to keep it all going to get us to go vote. Now, why would a heterosexual Black man vote for a Democrat? I mean, how would a heterosexual Black man, what does he benefit from? I mean, let's keep it a buck. And I just think that this whole thing is being engineered by these damn demons. Somebody's in a back room doing this damn thing and putting it all together. And I'm not like, for me personally, I live in California, so there's nothing for me to vote for here. I'm not voting at all. There's nothing for me to vote for here. Biden's going to take the state. All the propositions are going to fail anyway. I'm not voting because I have better things to do. What am I getting? If I'm not getting anything, why am I going to waste my damn time? And I just think, and so my whole thing, to finish it up, I just think this whole thing's being engineered. Okay, I'll let y'all go.
Project Veritas literally nailed it. They nailed the videos, the undercover videos. They went undercover to figure out who was Antifa and all the players behind it. So what you're saying is, yes, it is all calculated. It's part of their game plan. They knew that this is like their last, I would say their last rabbit or rabbit hat trick is what it is. And they literally admitted on the Project Veritas videos that something big was going to happen, that was going to send Antifa out, that they were given the order to just wait because they knew that they were going to go out and riot. They knew their job assignment, Antifa, was to go out and riot and go into different states and riot. They knew they had their marching orders, but they said that the overhead was saying, just wait for something big to happen. They wouldn't tell them what it was. They just knew that something big was coming. And that's when they knew to execute the minute it happened. So it was all calculated. If you really pay attention to the story in Minneapolis, which we know, everyone knows it. We're so used to the fake school shootings and all the actors that come out. Like, we're all used to it now. Most of us who are really, 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 really woke, we're all seeing it play out. This trick is getting old. So we all know that the club that George Floyd and Chauvin worked at, they worked there for years, so they knew each other. We also knew that the owner of the club was the first one to get interviewed from the club when this information came out. And she kept honing in on the fact that Chauvin was so racist. He was racist. She kept saying it and saying it and saying it. But the question I was asking when it was during her interview was, if you knew Chauvin was racist, why would you keep him working at your club? Why would you request someone else if you know that he was extra hard on Black people? So that was all played into it, so people could get upset saying that Chauvin was a racist, so we could get because Black people, we just emotional people. So it was to get us all in our emotions and get it riled up that it made it a racial thing. But see, the thing is, I personally believe everyone is saying that George Floyd isn't dead, but I don't know that part to be true. But what I do know, I'm saying that's what I'm reading on social media. But what I don't believe it. But what I'm saying is, I know that George Floyd, in his death, the way Chauvin had his hand in his pocket, I said he had his hand in his pocket like he was doing a Gap commercial. And they were making it so subtle so that people would get more angrier in the anger bill, because the tears were flowing from my eyes as I watched it. And I'm not easily moved by my emotions, but that really struck a nerve. Now imagine how it strike a nerve in someone who's not mentally stable and always on the racist tangent. That's exactly what happened. And George Floyd was just someone that they literally picked out of the hat and said that, hey, this is the one we're going to kill to start the riots. And he was literally labeled and picked out by Chauvin, part of the plan, because in Minneapolis, Chauvin's neighbors said that they didn't even know that he was a cop. So how you live next door to someone and don't know that he's a cop? It was all calculated. You are still on point, Flagship, when you say this, that it was all calculated. It was timely. And if everyone will go to the Project Veritas videos, they literally tell us exactly when it was going to happen, but no one knew what was going to be the big thing and where. But they said that we're getting the marching orders, but we wait for the big thing to happen. And that was the big thing in Minneapolis.
And then also, to add on to that, another thing is that, come to find out, in Minneapolis, they have all these monies for new prisons and policing, and they didn't open up any new schools or anything like that. So they're really engineering Black people to be these criminals at these outlets, so these police officers can just keep running through the Black community, just picking up people, bothering people, because there's no opportunity or anything like that. And so and that's another thing that they're doing too, is just if you keep putting, jails and police in a community and not putting economic opportunity, education, things of that nature, then guess what? Of course, everyone's going to be a freaking criminal. We're going to engineer because there's no money coming in. So that's why I don't live in a Democratic area. I live with the alleged racist. I mean, I'm gonna put it out there. I live with the alleged racist, and I ain't got no problems.
Well, let's put it out there, because someone just in the comments mentioned Atlanta is off the chain. Atlanta, as well as Minneapolis, as well as California, and many of these Democrat-run controlled cities that had Democrat leadership since forever, my entire whole adult life, and I'm 40 years old, and they actually been in control from the top to the bottom, and they're on the streets yelling, F Trump, but Trump don't have anything to do with the leadership that you all voted in. They
Thank
all
you.
voted his leadership in, but yet the Black community is blaming Trump, and Atlanta is off the chain right now. And this is exactly, let it play out, because a part of me and what I'm reading from conservatives is that they want President Trump to go in and just stop all this craziness, but on the flip side, I'm like, let it play out. Let the people receive what they picked. They chose that. They chose it. And
Tammy, I don't know about all. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
Go ahead.
Okay. No, Tammy.
I'm
You know,
kinda split on that, too.
I love you to bits. But here's my thing. President Trump needs to stop letting this. He needs to pull up his pants and get busy right now. Because here's the situation. He's doing some very suspect things in response to what's going on, and I'm giving him the damn side eye. Another reason besides his what do you have to lose speech, because his what do you have to lose speech was the drop the mic, I'm voting for this man in 2016. He needs another one of those moments. And doing an executive order for statues, that ain't it, dog. There's a problem. Here's the thing. You are a president, and contrary to what anyone has to say, you are a real estate and urban planner. Period. You are an urban planner. You are the only other president that was an urban planner like this was George Washington. Where are the cranes? Where are the cranes? Where is the development? Where are the buildings? He can develop his way out of all this madness in the Black community without even touching civil rights, without even touching this bullcrap of Black Lives Matter. Period, point blank, the end. But he's up here doing these photo ops at the church. He's doing a photo op up over here with the executive order with the monuments. I'm like, dude, come on, you're being messy as hell. I don't know who's in his face right now. And he needs to man up and invade Atlanta. Do a Trump march like General Sherman did. Go down there and do what you got to do. Because the thing is that Black people, we are under a spell. We're under the spell, and we need to be woken the hell up. That's why I'm voting for him. And it's like he's just sitting back, just like, okay, well, if you guys don't like it, then okay. No, it's called leadership.
I want to bring Sean. Go ahead, Sean, and I'll speak. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, why would the president come in and save these people? How will they ever learn? How would they ever learn? I mean, he says something that was really profound. This is in, I guess, something they call the Q drops. But he says sometimes you can't simply tell people something, you have to show them. Seeing is believing. And these cities and states that are run by these liberals, people need to feel the weight of the decisions that they made when they voted these people into office.
Preach.
Okay, if they don't feel that weight, I mean, if nothing changes, nothing is going to change. They have to be shaken. They have to be shaken to where they wake up, because they are walking zombies. They are dead. So I stand behind the president. I think he is doing an amazing job throughout all of this. And I think he's just giving them enough rope to hang themselves. And seeing is believing. So I don't agree with going in to save these people, because they would never learn, not one single thing. That's all I got to say.
You know what? I'm going to come in at this point. Sean, I totally agree with you on this. Flagship, and I want to say this to all of you guys, and I've said this in my previous videos, and I'm going to say it again. We are in a turning point in Americans' history. America is changing its infrastructure of action. And as we change our infrastructure of action, we're also changing our reaction. Remember what's my line? For every action, there is a reaction. For every non-action is an aftermath. And that's exactly what Sean just stated. Okay, so you wanted these Democrat elected local officials, governors, senators, state senators, mayors, school board, water board. They're liberal. They're anti-America. To me, they're treasonous. They misappropriately use your tax funds. Because remember, this video that we're doing, we're talking about wealth. And part of it coincides with who's your chief and commander. because Trump is a capitalist administration, allegedly, because right now we've been pushed because of COVID-19 into a socialist administration. A socialist is basically where the government is dictating and the government is paying out money, and that's what we're seeing in America right now. I'm not gonna pivot to that video, but I'm gonna say this to you, Flagship. Flagship always laugh when I show that video of them Chinese people welding people in their home.
That kills me.
Well, now they got the Jewish people welding. They welded the Jewish people's parks in New York. And you remember I showed y'all that video where in California, Eric Garcetti said, we're going to model ourselves after Wuhan, China. He said that at Crenshaw Christian Center, a Christian church I grew up in, that they allowed this liberal, communist, authoritarianism, evil man on their grounds who made that announcement that they're going to model California of Los Angeles after Wuhan, China, and authoritarianism. Authoritarianism are people who dictate to you your life, your income, and your well-being. But we as African American people cannot be part of that dictation. We no longer can be that way. We need to continue to do what we're doing, which is clarifying what type of Negro we are. We're African American descendants of Negro slaves. We need to continue to talk about set-asides, which we're going to share a little bit in this video. And we need to continue to talk about wealth building within our community. But if we cannot do that, if we do not elect the right official. Now, I've also told you and talked to you guys about learning chess, backgammon, and Monopoly. And Trump is playing chess right now. We have, 4 more months left in this election? And so why would he intervene? He's going to let everyone implode on their own merit. California can't blame Trump for their action, though they're doing this, because I talked to one of my friends who works for Fox Soul, and she says, well, the reason why the country, we're growing in COVID numbers because of the president. I said, excuse me? I said, the president doesn't control the local states areas. Well, everybody needs to be shut like down in California. People are getting evicted. People have lost their jobs. You just heard Hughley say he lost 70% of his income. Now you gonna tell me that we need to shut down more people? I don't think so. I think that, it's a summertime, it's a virus. You need to get out. You should practice social distancing. You should wash your hands. If you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, then do so. But I would never tell anyone to stay cooped up in a shut down house and let your mind become bewildered, let your spirit become broken, and let yourself go into a state of depression, and let the people you live with drive you crazy. We as people of a nation of people that were foundational builders, we have to think better than that. We have to think sight beyond sight. We have to be Thundercats. I'm gonna go back to a cartoon. We have to have sight beyond sight. And the way that I want you to learn from this video and us talking with this amazing panel of people on this morning is that you need to realize that you have to be shaken in order to be replaced. And replace not mean being replaced as a nation of people, but replace yourself financially, emotionally. Okay, now you got this extra money coming in from COVID-19, or you got it coming in. What other things that you can do to set aside? If it's to save, if it's to invest, or to surround yourself with a wealthy and healthy mindset. Let's say it like this. America is going to be dismantled no matter what it does, no matter what happens. This is a dismantle year. 2020 will go down as a year of a shaking and an awakening. The question I want to ask you is, there's no profit in the cure. So they don't want a cure because other people are making profits. We need to be making profits for ourselves. We need to be setting set-asides for ourselves. So I want to bring that conversation back to that, because yes, we need Trump in office. Yes, we know Joe Biden's no good. Yes, we know the past policies have failed us. But I want you to look at yourself. Everyone in this video, everyone who's listening to the sound of my voice, don't worry about your neighbor. Don't worry about the guy behind you. Don't worry about the president or the elected officials. I want you to look at the pocketbook that you got, and that you don't need to be looking like D.L. Hughley. You don't. And that you need to have more faith in God that he is going to provide for you. He's going to provide for all of us.
Shirley?
And whatever extra money that we have, we can move through it. Go ahead.
When you say set aside, let's have that discussion, and you can chime
Yes,
in.
please, I need clarity.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the conversation we've been having for some time now, talking about the set asides. We actually working on a COVID-19 task force right as we're speaking, and we mentioned set asides in this executive order that we're wanting to discuss, bringing it to the White House, and the set-asides that Native Americans as well as Pacific Islanders, there was some set-asides for them during this COVID-19 pandemic, where they received literally millions of dollars for the Native American people as well as Pacific Islanders, and also I believe Asians have received set-asides during this time. But the Native Americans, even with the millions that they even received from the COVID-19 set-asides, they are literally suing for more. They are suing.
Whoa, Tammy got cut off. I think her phone died. They are definitely set up. Tammy, I definitely come back. We definitely need you back, Tammy. Hold on, she's back. Tam, are you there?
Yes, I am. I
Okay,
can't.
you said that you were. Go ahead, continue.
They are suing. Actually, what was the last thing you guys heard?
Native Americans. They're suing the Native Americans again. They're suing again.
For more money, for literally, and they're going to win, because when the Native Americans come out, they get it. You know why? Because they go hard and they're all on one accord, and they're not talking about racism, and they're not being moved by the crap that we see our own people are talking about. So they're going to get it. And so the set asides that I believe that we all should be talking about is the fact that you do have a nation of people, which is us as descendants of slaves. We don't even have a Department of Interiors within a government, and we don't have the proper representation that as far as from our own people to be set into the Department of Interiors. We're not having that discussion. And I believe that that's a good starter, talking about set-asides, because we see the statistics that COVID-19 affects the African-American community the worst, looking at precondition issues as well as it does elderly. But the statistics show that it affects African-Americans the most, which, some African Americans who are not really tuned in, they're thinking, some people are saying, it was created to kill Black people. No, African Americans are the ones who really don't take our health seriously, because you can tell through the statistics of heart disease that we're in the top. We're all the way at the top. It's like we're fighting to stay to the top for heart disease and obesity and all these things. But it's mainly in the South. Obesity is a killer, and is mainly down in the South. Now let's talk about the South. So it goes back to even the times of our ancestors on the plantation, where we were getting the scraps from the master's table, where chitlins is still part of the meals in most African American homes. They say it's the best thing since sliced bread, but literally those are. That's part of the reason why most of us are in the condition that we are in, the preconditions, and why COVID-19 is affecting us. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about set aside, and let's talk about getting on one accord. Let's talk about not being crabs in a bucket, and really everyone getting on one accord, because the Native Americans, they're killing it right now. Asians are killing it. They're doing it. They're coming together. They're getting their coin. But they're not fighting each other. They're not worried about racism or anything like that. African American is at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to set aside, because we're not asking for it.
I totally agree.
I forget what the lady said earlier, but she said we have gatekeepers that make sure we don't get on one accord. We got these Billy Porters out here talking. We had that D.L. Hughley's out here talking. Where the Native Americans, they're like, nah, this is the group that's going to talk. And same with like for the Jewish community, like AIPAC. They have organizations that are specific and strategic, that they're supposed to talk. And when they speak, everyone shuts up. In the Black community, we can't get nothing going, because, especially with this whole thing with police brutality, like case in point here, we're talking about police brutality, regulating the police, and then somehow Black Lives Matter talking about gay trans came in out of nowhere. And they're funded by these white supremacist liberals. And so I agree with everything that you said, but we got to get these damn liberals out of our. I'm sorry. These liberals are ruining everything. And I think that when we get these liberals out of the way, we could probably be on one accord, because it totally makes sense, everything that you just said. But the thing is, every time we get moving, here comes the little trick bag with LGBTQIA and trans. Oh my God, these people are there on my last nerve.
Liberals and the Alphabet City band do not need to be part of our vocabulary. It should be set aside.
Thank you.
We should be talking about set asides. Look at this right here that Shirley had just put up on the screen. This should be in our conversation on social media. We all booming on our social media. It should be in every conversation that you're on a live video. Everything that you are doing and talking, we should be talking about set asides for the African American descendant of the Negro slave, because those same liberals are the ones, Obama administration allowed illegal migrants to claim the birthright of our ancestors. That is in the United States Constitution, that was given to that after slavery. So, they're walking, the liberals are actually doing their job and we're letting them. But every conversation you have on social media need to be talking about set asides and African American descendants of Negro slave, but talk about economic empowerment. Let's stray away from the word reparation, but talk about economic empowerment.
I agree.
Don't talk about reparations. Talk about economic empowerment. Do a word change. Ooh, yikes! Because people have been working on that word for like the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, but most of the people that have been working on that word has been basically talking about discussions. If we use the terminology and we use the same verbiage that the government used, which is an executive order for economic empowerment. That's what the Chinese got. That's what the Native Americans got. That's what the ABC, the alphabet soup people got. So they're getting reparations through the terminology called an executive order of economic empowerment. We should use the same terminology. And not only do we need money, we need land. We need to continue to build up what happened with Black Wall Street. We need to say, hey, you took Black Wall Street that had oil and resources away from us. We need tangibles as far as oil, resources, and land. The most wealthiest Blacks in the world are out of Nigeria and Africa because they have oil resources, they have water, they have cement. These are things that people need on a daily living. That is not basketball athletes, superstars, all that kind of stuff. I'm not anti-tech. I'm 100% tech community, but I'm talking about everyday living things that people need. We need to have Black people in those capacities. But if we don't realize that a lot of the money that how America flows is through the government, through executive orders, and so that is what Tammy is talking about. That is a form of set aside. But I want to take one step away a little bit from what you're saying, Tammy, and let's go back into self, and then I'm going to pull Tammy back in. If those who might have just chimed in, thank you for chiming in. Make sure you like and get the thumbs up button. It makes a world of difference. If you want to make a donation, it helps us as well. But the more likes that we get out, please share this on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, and please share this video on your social media group pages. The group pages are important that you make an emphasis to watch this video, because by watching this video, sharing this video, it expands our mind and it counterreacts to the D.L. Hughleys and all these crazy liberals who are not showing you a conservative, positive, self-reassuring mindset to move you forward. And that's what we're providing for you. Look right here, executive order. If we look at executive orders that have been cast to these other people, it has allowed these people to leverage economically away from us and govern over us. For example, let's look at industries. If we look at the nail community, the Vietnamese people come here, they're able to leverage through the nail community. If we look at the gas stations owned by Armenians, if we look at the construction, the Hispanics have now taken that. They've taken the jobs that kids used to do, like tossing papers and working at McDonald's and making their families work all these different areas. All these other cultures of people have come here through EB-5 visas, legally and illegally. through executive orders and visas and monies that have been set aside to restructure their culture of people in a better living lifestyle, right? A better way of America. The problem with that is that it has affected our community. Now, people want to call us racist and bigots and all kind of names, but in order to get to the level where Tammy is talking about right now, you all need to understand what those people have taken from you. Your neighborhoods have been displaced, your communities, and if it hasn't, it will be. You have Johnson, you have also, Flagship and myself who are from California. And what we're trying to tell you is that we are on the front line of the future of Black America, and we're fighting to wake you up. We're trying to bring your conscience into understanding. Don't let them throw this racist Black unity, minority, people of color on the table, because they're twisting the civil rights and the allotments that were supposed to be given to us that are now given to LGBT and white women and everybody else. We need to say, no, we are African-American descendants of Negro slaves. And we say the word Negro, unlike just ADOS, which we're also that in foundational people. It's just different terminology. We use the word Negro because Senator Ming went in there and she took that word out. And when you look through history, when they talk about Booker T. Washington and Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, the term Negro clarified who and what we are, going back to 1619. So we need to have them understand our validity and our value. But if we don't understand it, there lies the problem. So we need to set aside an understanding of one's self-worth, number one. Number two, you need to realize that the grants and the rights that you had have been taken away or expanded to other people. Number three, you need to realize that Black Lives Matters don't matter because there's no profit in the cure. There's no profit in the cure. So because there is no cure, we need consistent pain and chaos. Number four, you need to realize we are in dark times and that the devil is busy and that you need to know Jesus. You need to plead the blood of Jesus over you. You need to speak in his word. You need to sleep and have good words. And when the evil thoughts come to you, and some of you guys may be listening to this video and you're not sleeping well, you're having bad dreams, you rebuke those bad dreams. I rebuke them for you in the name of Jesus. I ask that God covers you with his blood. I ask that the Lord gives you discernment, that we lean not to our own understanding. That's what the scripture says. Lean not unto your own understanding. Because a lot of things that are about to come, we may not understand, but God needs vessels right now. The people that are listening to this video and that will listen to this video has an understanding that the vessel that God needs to use needs to be humble, needs to be quiet, needs to be open. Because America has shifted so hard to the left that is leaning away from God and Christianity. And we've allowed Muslims and Buddhists and all these other religions to come into this country. But the country's infrastructural foundation was through Christian Judeo values. Now, if you're those other religions, I'm not trying to put you down, but I'm letting you know you have come into the land of the Christians and the Jews. And that's embedded in marble, that's in Washington, these are statues. And this is why Trump decided to sign that executive order. And I agree he waited too late, but I'm glad he did, because now they're talking about going after Christians and religious statues. And you're not going to do that, because once you do that, then you're starting to creep into more of Washington's territory, even more and more. We need to stop all this chaos that is being given through evilness. But let's go back into what Tammy's talking about, set-asides. There's different components of set-asides, and the first one is oneself. The second one is to understand that there are other people who are out there who are getting it. So how do we get it? Well, one of the things that Tammy had mentioned is that we have put an executive order task force called the African American Descendants of Negro Slave Task Force, where we are dealing with the number one problem in Black community, which is COVID-19. Now, grant you, we know that reparation is definitely what we are entitled to, and there's other people fighting for that, But with the Urban Game Changer family, which we are part of, we are nationwide, we are growing, and we are doing some things that will be announced real soon. We want you to understand that 30% to 40% of African Americans, descendants of Negro slaves, as well as Africans in this country, are affected by COVID-19. And they just allotted billions of dollars to be dispersed, and it's still not coming to us. Why is that? What we'll have to do to make a difference in that? Family, any thoughts on the platform?
I agree. I agree, because this terminology thing needs to be finite and literally guaranteed in order to be able to create a movement that we can get behind. Because I don't like this commingling stuff neither, because I got people that really isn't politically astute, and they pretty much say Black Lives Matter is for us, right? No. Then they get confused. Then they say, well, what is it for then? LGBTQ. And they say, well, I have no problem with gay people. I'm like, it's not about that. It's about something that's supposed to be for us that goes to other people. And I don't know, it seemed like it's talking to complete aliens with certain people when it comes to in our community about this. I'm like, see, this is why people need to turn their TV off and start doing their research and reconnaissance. Because this is literally, I don't know, if Black people can't be able to held up the stand, I think this is going to be like the final blow. The final blow, because we're getting hit by all angles when it comes to this craziness that this liberal ideology goes to. Because I agree with Flagship. I agree with Demetrius heartily about getting rid of these demis, but we need to get rid of this ideology. Like, this ideology is Marxist, and you can't build nothing. How many countries Karl Marx build? How many countries that Karl Marx build? That seemed like the blueprint to destroy a country and destroy a family. And the Urban Game Changers, I'm glad I found Miss Shirley. I am glad I found Miss Shirley, because I thought I was the only one that thought that this immigration, legal immigration situation was crazy. Just go with it, just because. I don't agree with that. But
the Marxist ideology is in this moment, present time, it's actually been going on for many years. We realize they have infiltrated our public education system, as well as the colleges. My children were literally pulled out of school in the middle of a school year when I had this great epiphany, and literally the Holy Spirit showed me a vision, and everyone thought I was crazy, but I saw the vision of where we're at today. And I didn't want my children to be part of getting an education from a system that is now structured to turn them against their own country. Not only that, they were literally teaching our children to be haters, not to be haters of our country, but to tell them that the Islam religion is the most was the actual religion instead of Christianity, which it goes against what we teach at home. I pull my children right out, but I saw where we're at today years ago and why we started homeschooling. But in order to get rid of the Marxist ideology, you have to dismantle the entire public school system, literally pull your children out and educate them yourself is what we need. That's exactly what's going to have to happen. And then talk about the set-asides. Now, if the set-asides come along and preserve the ancestral lineage of our ancestors, and we actually are able to rebuild, think of the Black Wall Street, think of the Greenwood Historic District, think about it. If we are able to build the same way our ancestors did, build companies, run companies, and hire the people within our communities who want to build, guess what will happen? We can build schools, and I'm not just saying, oh, well, we build schools that only Black people can go to. No, I mean, I'm a Christian, so
I'm for that. I'm for that.
I'm for everybody. But what I'm saying is, if we're
we're not for everybody.
What'd you say?
No. Skip that everybody. Skip everybody. You was right the first time. Keep the first comment. Skip the second one. Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
Well, what I'm saying is, once we open up our own schools, we can allow our communities in which we live. Because let's be real honest here. I live in a community where it's just not Black people. I mean, we have to be honest here. I have African American friends. I have white friends. I have all types of friends. So, you're going to have a mixture of everybody within your schools. But if we're actually talking about these set asides, just like the Native Americans and the Pacific Islanders, if you read what Shirley is posting on the screen right now in this moment, these people are building generational wealth, and they are literally plugged in, building their whole community and doing it with the funding that was given to them strictly for economic empowerment. Now, they don't use the word reparations, but they said, look, government, you did our ancestors wrong, our people wrong, and now it's time to pay up. Oh, they got what they asked for. They did. But this is how we're going to get rid of the Marxist ideology. We can't allow ourselves to continue to let a system educate our children, say one thing out the side of our necks, but really not pushing towards set aside so that we can build and grow our own schools. Now, President Trump is on the right path when he talks about education and where choice of education and school choice and charter schools. Like, that's a good step in the right direction. It gives us some leeway, just like homeschooling give us leeway. That's why we have a whole homeschool defense that protects us from the government. And every day, what the homeschoolers fight is a fight because they're trying to infiltrate. Now they're allowing our homeschoolers to do extracurricular activities as far as the sports and the arts within the public school system. But the trick to that is you have to enroll also within the public school system. So they're noticing that many people are pulling their children out of school. So they're trying to find a way, the public school system, to bring your children back in. And, some people are okay with it. I'm sort of kind of okay with it because it allows the children, my tax dollars go to the public school system. So I'm saying, hey, why not? Even if they don't go, but then they want the children to be plugged into this whole data situation where they're trying to collect their data, and then you're forced to take these standardized testing. And that's what I'm totally against. So in order to go back to what you were saying about we have to get rid of the Marxist ideology, no, we have to pull our kids out entirely and build our own schools and build up our communities in order to get rid of that and start truly educating. Let's go back to the Frederick Douglass days.
I definitely agree with you, what you just said. And I think that everything starts with educating our kids. I just kind of figured that, with us, we're kind of like done, our age, I'm a Gen Xer. I turned 43 this year. The thing is, the only thing I can pretty much do is get a business going, try to set up the next generation. And it starts with our kids. But just like getting a school together that talks about economics and finance and getting the industry that we can pretty much own. Like, for example, this whole space thing, what did Trump start? It was space. God, what's it called? Space something. Well, anyways, America's gonna be focusing on space, space force, or something like that. What will be great right now? Okay, that's not gonna be now. That's gonna be 30, 40 years from now. So what will be fantastic right now is we can get our own school system together to where we focus on quantum mechanics, astrophysics, robotics, and also we need new materials, material science, robotics, stuff like that. And we engineer that in our kids right now. So then when the money's already, set aside and the technology is going up, that could be an industry that literally we set our kids up now to where the entire community runs that. And we have the intellectual capacity to do that. Same thing that's coming up in the future. Like I said before, blockchain technology is the future. And then it's going to evolve from that. So we can also in these schools focus on things that could be for the future, like blockchain technology, programming, things of that nature. So then 40 years from now, there's no choice but to hire Shamaka and Darnell and Laquita because they're the only ones who have the skill set because we've been engineering that in their school, in our new public school system that we set up on ourselves. That's why I'm just like saying, I don't care about everybody else. It's going to be our situation. Then they can come in beneath us. But we're going to focus on ours first because I'm tired of us.
I mean, as believers, we have to understand that in the kingdom is not just, in the kingdom is we're all one, right? So we have to really look at it where we know already that once the set aside, right now we're talking about set asides. What comes after that? Once you're building your own schools, you have the right to do as you choose or who you let in your schools.
True.
You know, I'm looking at it from a much larger stance. Even when you build your schools, it's still your school. It's still in your community. However you want to do it, you can. Anyone who enroll right now, we enrolling our kids into a Christian private school just for a season. But guess what? They're asking for information. If I can't apply that, then they make a choice whether we come in or not because it's limited. So everyone gets a choice on who gets to come in their school. But that's not the conversation. The conversation is, how do we even get to the point where we're building our own schools? Set aside.
And we need those set asides. Yes, we do need those set asides.
So let's go back.
Another thing I wanted to also mention is that because the thing is, who is writing these things for the Asian American community and for the Native American community? How do we get those same kind of institutions so we can apply for set asides? I mean, urban game changers is one, but the thing is, you need to have the legalese people. We need the legal beagles to type it up. And also we need the money to get in front of President Trump in order to say, hey, this is what we need over here. And because the thing is, with these things, we got to move covertly, because I never hear about these set asides until afterwards, like 3 months after it's already done. When I'm watching like Tariq's channel or I'm watching Jason Black's channel, I never hear about these set asides at all. So the thing is, we also got to get strategy together how to get these set asides for it to be covert, because once you start seeing, it gets out there that, Black people get some set asides, here comes everybody. Oh, well, we need this, we need that. We have to jump on that too. So we got to figure out a way to get it written appropriately, how to be directed specifically towards us, and then how to covertly move to get it done. So then by the time everyone else hears about it to jump in it, we chilling like a villain. We have our business grants together. We have our educational grants together. We have all this other stuff set up to go, versus trying to get it done. And then while we're getting it done, we get busted out. And then next thing you know, we don't get those set asides anymore. Because just so that you guys know, I never hear about this stuff with these other set asides until it's already done.
No, I don't know what y'all talking about. I was looking something up online. Look at this one I'm about to show you guys. This is the U.S. Department of Education, an executive order. This goes back to 2009. So how executive orders work is this. There's a group. It could be a lobbyist group. It could be a task force group. We're just not organized. The only organization we have that people are noted that have to deal with people that are African American, if we like them or not, are CBC, Urban League, and the NAACP. And they have not championed for our best interests in these last, I would say, 40 years. They might have been great in the 60s. They might have done something in the 70s. But after that, Lyndon B. Johnson, he cut that check and told those Negroes they could stay home and have babies and let their men get incarcerated. All those civil rights leaders who became elected officials did not do their due diligence and put a law and structure within the community so that we understand how it works. So how it works with executive orders is this. You get an executive order when you get it presented, you get the president to sign it. So Trump was not the first executive order, nor was it Obama. I think they got their first one done through Clinton, and it just gets re-signed every year because it's not a law. It's an executive law, which means that it's put out through the president, and each president has to make a conscious decision if they're going to renew that executive order. One of the new executive orders, I'll look that up and show you in a second, that was a recurring executive order for Chinese Americans, which had to do with medical. Trump has decided not to resign. So that's that hidden Cold War that's about to come upon us. And we haven't done a video on that, but just remember Cold War. in the future. We're going to talk about the Cold War. But the executive orders that have been written have to be renewed and have to be signed every year by whoever the current president or administration is. And Flagship has it correct. You do need to have an attorney or a team together that puts this executive order in place so that it continues to move forward, or it gets executed so that it empowers the people. But let's go back to what Tammy said when we talk about this particular executive order right here. Economic empowerment, it's on the White House website. This is leverage. This is what you guys understand. This is money and power. There's three things in life you're going to deal with. Remember, if you watch my videos, I've taught you about Monopoly, chess, and backgammon and other games to play. But also it's called, you need to have money, you need to have numbers, and that you need to understand power. And that's what these people have. What we don't have is our numbers are dwindling because of COVID-19. We're dying off. We don't have any money because the monies that are allocated are going towards everybody else except us. And we don't have any power because everyone is pivoting off of our pain. Remember, they pivot off of your pain. Black Lives Matter. Okay, oh my God, yes it does. What can I do? You want to help the LGBT or help my dogs that are hurting. Wait a minute, you said Black Lives Matter. Yeah, but it's not, that's just smoke and mirrors. You know, the interpretation, the definition of Black Lives Matter do not coexist what you're stating out of your mouth. That's the problem that we've allotted by the abuse of not only us as a people, but our movement. And we need to take our movement back. And we need to clarify to media and to our politicians and to the local leaders that we are not people of color, we are not minority, we are African American descendants of Negro slaves. Now, I saw somebody in the chat room say, well, what if you don't say that one right? If you say Black Family First, or if you say, a Black Foundational Americans, or if you say ADOS, whatever term you want to represent, you know that these are the original African Americans who are Africans, who were brought here as commodity goods, trades, and service, who were stolen, who were raped, who were abused, who were laid part of the ground and the dirt that you walk on is blood Black people. That rich soil that you walk on has blood in it, and it's my family's blood. And my family wants it's just desserts. And because of that, that is why the darkness is moving upon this earth. God has had enough. And he's pulling his hand off and he's shaking the ground. And he's saying, if you don't get it right, I will. And that's what you're seeing right now. You're seeing a shaking of God and his hand. But I want to tell you, as vessels, we all need to be used. And we need to structure ourselves. So like Flagship is saying, and like Jonathan is saying, trying to get that next generation on board, trying to get them to think. You may not be able to do that because many are called and few are chosen. Many are called and few are chosen. So God has been talking to that generation for a while. They ain't listening. Guess what? He's doing a next. So are we going to be part of the next? Because I know you're talking about people in their 40s. Are we going to be at the point where we are like, hey, we got to move on? Or are they going to move over us? So God might be right now pushing the people in the 20s and 30s because the ones prior to it got screwed. I got screwed because I had to deal with the civil rights people, with these old ass Black people. And then the people below me are saying, okay, I don't want to be like none of y'all. We want to cut to the chase. But we have to understand law and order. We need to understand policy and legislation. And that's why Tammy mentioned Flagship. You know, yes, we love the word reparations, but that same word needs to be transformed into executive order because of economic empowerment, because other people have executive order of economic empowerment. And that is what we need to have as African American descendants of Negro slaves. Any comments or thoughts on that?
That was beautiful. I just want to say that was beautiful. That was beautiful, Miss Shirley.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. What made it beautiful? Tell me your thoughts.
When you said that the 20s and 30s look at the people in their 60s and 70s like, we ain't doing that shit. y'all playbook is definitely flawed. And I agree, because for one thing, a lot of the people that I know that's my age, they may not necessarily agree with the president, but they really ain't rocking with Joe Biden. They giving Joe Biden the hard questions, while the media wants people to give oh boy in office the hard questions. Now we giving you the hard questions because we keep voting for you at a 90%, 85 to 90% percentile, and we absolutely get nothing. We just supposed to be good slaves, sit there, eat your popcorn, and just be happy you're here. That's some bullshit.
I totally agree with you, but let me ask you this question, Jonathan.
Mhm.
If we know this, then I think the next level that I want you to know is we have to have sight beyond sight. So let's say we don't get Biden and we do get Trump. That doesn't make it so that now we're calm and settled and complacent.
No, I agree.
What is the next step? If Trump becomes reelected, what is the next step that we need to do? And
Apprenticeships. We need more apprenticeships. That's literally directly from high school to community colleges, and have it where Black kids and inner city youths can be able to actually reach it. We need grants, SBA grants, and we need to make sure that we audit these cities on area grants, because Donald Trump gave $16 billion to Baltimore when Elijah Cummings was still alive, and those people have yet to see that $16 billion in grants. We need something that's either direct.
It went to the LGBT.
Yes, and that's the problem. That's the problem, because everything that we get gets funneled over there, and it doesn't benefit Black youth.
So hold on. So what I'm hearing you say, correct me, is that we need access to power and we need money to leverage with. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's exactly what is in the set aside of the Pacific Islanders as well as the Native American. There are automatic grants that go directly to exactly what you're speaking about, Jonathan. The grants are that's if you read it, what Shirley just put up right here, go write that down and go search for it yourself and look at it and look inside of it. There are the automatic grants that go directly to their people to build up their communities, directly to their communities. Let me tell you a story. So
he's saying it's not coming to us. He's agreeing with us. He's saying it's not coming to us.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing.
Hold on. I want everybody.
He's saying it's not coming to us.
I want you guys to stop real quick, and I'm gonna let Tammy talk. Flex, hold your thought, because I want to make sure that I want to stay with this power situation, because I don't want to pivot. Tammy's right on the point. I want you to see the departments in the executive order. Y'all see this on the screen? Economic and power, Pacific Islands. I'm gonna scroll down. Look the departments they have access to. Department of State, Treasury, Defense, Justice, Interior, Agriculture, Labor, Health and Human Services, Housing and Urban Development. That means that they have a department specifically set aside for them. Let me say that again, to have access to it. Energy, education, veteran affairs, homeless security, a management budget, environment protection agency, small business administration. Small business administration, is that the same as the Department of Housing and Urban? No, they gave him another department regarding that. The White House, a White House Office of Cabinet Affairs. White House Interior Governmental Public Liaison, Economic Council, Political Council, Technical, Science and Technology Policies. Look, and Intellectual Property Enforcement Corporation and other executive branches, department, agencies, and offices, as the president may from time to time designate. The president may designate. They get certain designations. Now, they've been able to extend this since 2009 to 2000 to today. From 2009, look at this. They've been able to grow their people. What access to power do we have like this? Okay, now y'all can talk.
Okay, let me finish my statement. So you see all those departments. That is how those people are leveraging. They have power. Every department the grants, and every time the money goes into them, it goes individually into each one of those departments. And so they're building up generational wealth for their community of their native people. So I'm gonna tell you a story. We go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we get there early before Trump's rally on we get there before on the 20th, because June 19th is a celebration on Black Wall Street, and we get there to enjoy the celebration. So while I'm there, I make sure to hit up every business, plug money into their economy, and make appointments, get my hair done, nails done, you name it, we did it. Ate at every restaurant, maybe the whole 3 days.
Love that.
And so that was the whole goal, is to get there early enough and then do it. So, but while I'm there, I'm having a conversation trying to know who's the who on Black Wall Street. I meet the Black Wall Street ambassador. I'm actually having a whole conversation about Black Wall Street and the stories that I literally linked up with the right people at the right time. It was like a God orchestrated appointment for me to be in the right place at the right time, where I'm actually speaking to people who are the people who literally knows everything about Black Wall Street. So we hear a story about how Black Wall Street was the massacre happened in 1921, but then our people rebuilt Black Wall Street. Not only did they build Black Wall Street, the government, which is the government, the state, as well as the city of Tulsa, our people, Black Democrats today, literally sold out the city to the state, taking away the power and control that Black Wall Street had on the entire Greenwood Historic District, and practically gave up majority of their property, the ones that were passed on down from our ancestors to the descendants. And so there's really no leverage no more. They're fighting for just a little piece of their land back. Like, they're fighting for it. And they know that the only way to get it back is for someone to run for mayor in Tulsa, someone who actually owns a business in Black Wall Street, because little by little, they're taking away their property. They're taking it away little by little. But in order to regain it back, they have to retain the power, get into a position, and take it back. But literally, Black Wall Street is not even Black owned no more. They're renting buildings. They don't own their businesses. The city is not transparent with them, and if they're literally redistricting the community, where it's getting smaller and smaller. So, and they're not even receiving revenue from the new builds. We heard that 99% of Black Wall Street is not even Black owned. There's so much construction going on right now, high rises. They got a new ballpark. None of that funding is going into the descendants of Negro slaves that our ancestors built Black Wall Street. And this is the issue. This is where we come in with this whole plan, is how we have to restore, rebuild, regain. A whole Black Wall Street is not even Black owned anymore. Maybe 2 businesses up there that maybe have Black ownership, but they rent. Majority of the Black businesses rent, but it's only 2 that actually own buildings.
And that's by design. And that's what's always happened to us. No one talks about that. What happened after slavery? What you just said right there is exactly what happened to our wealth immediately after slavery. It's 125 years of exactly just that. And we have to, and that's a part of like having to set aside is also having what I think. Let me see what his name is. Jonathan was saying. I think his point got misconstrued. Is you also have to have protection and accountability in conjunction with set asides. So we can have all the set asides we want to, but if we can't protect it, we can't hold the fort, then it's just the same thing as not having it all together. And I think that's what needs to combine, because what you just said right there is exactly what's happened in Rosewood, Wilmington, Ellenwood, Seneca Falls. We just go on and on. There's over 300 towns where that same scenario just happened. And then on top of that, where it wasn't rioting and looting, that in thievery, the rest of it, there was no protection because the highway system went through the rest of the towns. So we have to have that protection along with the set aside. So and that's why when people say, well, I don't understand why Black people just can't get it together. Well, I know why. You have time to sit down and listen.
Motherfuckers keep stealing it. Motherfuckers keep stealing it.
COVID-19 is the newest thing that is another gut punch to the stomach to the African American descendants of Negro slaves is another gut punch. And COVID-19 right now is the topic of discussion, and everybody else is getting set aside. Native Americans ain't happy. They got their millions and their billions, and they're still suing for more. And we're sitting here talking about racism and Black Lives Matter.
True. And also can I just throw something out there? Also, we got to be careful of these groups, these Native Americans. Remember the $5 Indian situation? Some of these Native Americans got all this money. We were seeing, I saw a little news clip, and I thought that they was like Bo and Becky. It was like Bo and Becky on TV with some kind of like feathers on their face. I'm like, they don't look that. I'm sorry. Like some of these Native Americans are literally not Native Americans. So I think that could be also a situation. I'm sorry, that was bad.
So I know Sean's listening in. Sean, what's your thought on all this? We're talking about Black Wall Street. We're talking about set-asides. Again, restructuring our wealth in a ground that's being shaken right now. And sometimes we have to look back to look forward, right? But we've talked so much about the back, and we're still talking about the back because we just came out of, we're in a historical month. We're in Juneteenth month. Sean, what's your thought on this?
I'm really listening and learning, and I do believe that we do need those. We do need to. In the past, they've always talked about, and the word that they used back then was reparations, but they just always wanted to have a conversation and never actually wanted to do something. But with that said, if we were to get these things to pass and get these things in place, we would definitely need still the mindset of people in the Black community has to change. It's almost like removing someone who was once really, really poor, and then you give them all this money, and then they don't know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? In Africa right now, they're having a lot of things going on where they are killing off farmers because they feel like the land belongs to them. It's this view that they've had for a while. And so they're killing all of these white farmers, but yet they don't know how to farm the land. They don't know what to do with it. So the land is there. And there's becoming like a shortage of food in different things. So I think it's great. I think it is important looking ahead, for the country to right some of its wrongs. But at the same time, I believe we also need to prepare for that because there has to be a change of the mindset.
Anybody else?
And my thing is, how do we do that? And I think it has a lot to do with the mentorship, discipleship. People in the Black community, they need to get back to get back to their God. We've left the God of our forefathers. We've left our moral compass. That there are a lot of things in the Black community. It's not just financial, but I mean, there's just so many things that are not being talked about. The culture of violence. Just how can Black people make up, let's say, about 13.3% of the population, give or take, here in America. And if you look at Black men between, let's just say, the ages of 16 to 25, we can shorten that percentage down to maybe 3% or so or more, give or take. You're looking at a very small percent of the population that is responsible for over 50% of violent crimes. Not just crime, not just, okay, my family is hungry, I need to eat, so they go in and take something, but violent crimes, of all kinds. And I think those issues need to be addressed, because just changing I guess how much money you have, it's not going to be enough.
Can I inject on that right there, if possible, when she's done?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things we got to
Miss
talk
Shirley, I'm
about.
gonna drop off.
Huh,
It was nice
Jonathan?
talking with y'all.
Okay.
Salute to Flagship. Salute to Sean, Miss Tammy, Miss Shirley. Thank you for always allowing me to come on this panel. And have a blessed day. And have a nice Sunday as well.
Jonathan, I adore you. You are such a blessing. You are a fresh breath of air, and you continue to speak your truth. Speak your truth, my brother, and I look forward to you coming back on the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Salute.
Have a blessed day.
Have a blessed day, Jonathan.
You too. Salute to all y'all.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I just want to be very careful when we start quoting the crime statistics, because the fact that, you know, we also have to understand that, you know, and there was a person by Cynthia G who talked about this a lot, was that you also have to understand that when we deal with these Democrats, they set up our communities for crime. They set them up for failure by extraction of resources and things of that nature as well. And then plus, we also have to understand that, you know, after from slavery up to 1965, we weren't, all this crime and violent crime and stuff didn't happen to Black communities. There was a specific set of rules and policies in a specific time frame during Lyndon B. Johnson where everything in the community changed. And that, because you can engineer things in people's community. So, I mean, I definitely know that we do have some issues in the community, but I really don't want to get into this mindset of, you know, we're inherently criminal. We're, you know, we're doing violent crime and things like that. Because you also got to understand that there's groups of people that don't even get in trouble for their violent crime. They get, it's misdemeanor. Oh, there's not enough evidence. Oh, we just don't know. We have questions. And so we have to really, I really don't want to get into a conversation of where we're blaming ourselves for our own condition, because we do know these Democrats, these liberals, and we know the devil is a lie, and the devil is a liberal. I was gonna put it out there. So, so I understand we do have issues, because I mean, the one thing I cannot stand these gangs. I cannot stand these, you know, the violence and stuff that's in our community. But we have to understand, our community, we don't get these set aside. That's what we're talking about, set aside. And one thing that no one talks about is that the Black community is the only community that when the income increases, there's pretty much crime is non-existent. When our income level increases, we're the only community. When you look at the Asian community, when you look at the white community, regardless of their wealth and income class, there's all kinds of violence and crimes that occur, especially, you know, with the banking crash of 2008. There's always these kind of fraudulent things that happen where in our community we don't have those different things. That's why we need to talk about these set-asides to get our economy in order, because from after slavery, we weren't behaving this way. It wasn't until the economics left our community, and that was after 1965, where all this craziness started happening. We started having all these crazy people coming into our community with different cultures and so on and so forth. So I really just want to focus, if we can, just keep it on the economics. I think if we solve the economics problem, everything else will kind of solve itself, to include violent crime and crime altogether.
And I think
also I think that, you know, Black women will be happy, because they're gonna have, because the thing is, another thing that people don't understand about what Joe Biden did and Hillary Clinton did by calling Black men super predators, it pretty much wiped out eligible Black men off the table. Literally, like, there's Black women are lonely as hell right now. I'm seeing sisters walk around here where they got all these degrees, all this kind of stuff. They ain't got no man. And I just listened to like I was at home. I was at Christmas and I was talking to my mom, and also talking to my grandma, my aunties. There was a plethora of suitable brothers to choose from back in the day. Where I don't want to date him. Like my mom had like 7 eligible Black men. She chose my dad, thank God. But like, she had 7 dudes who were just as good, if not better, as my dad. Like, sisters ain't got that no more. And so we got it. So I don't know how y'all. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of by solving the economics, we can solve it.
And I agree with you. I'm going to pivot this to what you said. We're talking about community. I still go back to, it's an individual mindset. Remember, urban game changers as well. We hold elected officials accountable as well as ourselves. Our self-embetterment to what Flagship is saying is what needs to take place. So let's watch this video, and I'm going to pause it in between. Let's talk about community wealth, and let's see it from a Black perspective. Let's watch this one.
Top 10 wealthiest African American neighborhoods. Welcome to blackexcellist.com, the site where we celebrate Black excellence, opulence, and affluence. Our mission is to inspire you as we enlighten you. Hello and welcome back. In this Black Excellist presentation, we will highlight the top 10 wealthiest African American neighborhoods. African American neighborhoods or Black communities are types of ethnic enclaves found in many cities in the United States. Since the 1960s, the Black middle class has grown tremendously. African Americans have become more educated and have moved into corporate America and professional jobs. No longer isolated and identified by skin tone, many African Americans developed their own Black upper middle class neighborhoods. Wealthy African American homeowners have gravitated to these affluent neighborhoods in pursuit of lower crime rates, better schools, and neighbors who share their socioeconomic demographics. Today, we will take a look at communities that have higher than average populations of African Americans. These prestigious neighborhoods are where African Americans are succeeding in terms of income, home ownership, and academic achievement. Since this top 10 list highlights communities, we have selected predominantly Black neighborhoods with less than 30,000 people, and our researchers have factored basic indicators such as cost of living, economic equality, and livability. Some of the earliest African American neighborhoods were clustered in and around New York City, but we want to give a special shout out to Maryland. 7 of our top 10 richest Black communities are located in the Old Line State. In this original Black Excellist video, we will be featuring the wealthiest and most affluent Black communities across America. So without further ado, let's get...
Sorry about that, people. Oh, technical difficulties. I was like, is she gonna get to the point or what? It's gonna get there. Hold on.
She's a liberal. That's why.
Started. Number 10, View Park, Windsor Hills, California. This large middle to upper class Black community comes in at the number 10 spot with an average family income of $83,000. View Park, Windsor Hills is part of a band of districts from Culver City's Fox Hills district on the west to the Los Angeles district of Leimert Park. The area is the single largest geographically middle and upper class Black community in the United States. Over half of the adults in View Park, Windsor Hills have earned a bachelor's degree from college. The median home value for View Park, Windsor is $553,000. Number 9, Lake Arbor, Maryland. Lake Arbor is a thriving African American community in Prince George's County, Maryland. The average family income for this town is $93,000. Lake Arbor has a population of 92% African Americans, safely landing it on our list of the wealthiest African American communities in the United States. Lake Arbor established Prince George's County as the most desirable destination for young, affluent African American families moving from Washington, D.C. for a suburban lifestyle. The median home value for Lake Arbor is $284,000. Number 8, Hillcrest, New York. This prosperous, middle-class African-American community makes the top 10 list with a median family income of $94,000. Hillcrest is a middle-class Black community in New York with a 56% African-American population. In the early 1900s, Hillcrest became a summer retreat for African-American working-class families who would travel by train from New York City. Located in Rockland County, this area has not always been predominantly African-American. In the 1990s, there was a dramatic demographic change as African-American newcomers were lured from New York for lower taxes and greater real estate value. The median home value for Hillcrest is
$58,000. While I'm suffering through all this damn technical difficulties.
What are they doing?
Well, you know, it's interesting to me. It's in California, you can make that kind of money and get a mud house. These people got some nice properties. I mean, come on, this is some nice properties we're looking at.
I mean, where are they allowed to sell drugs in America? Are they allowed to sell drugs up there? I mean, what are they doing? No, just kidding. That's terrible. Sorry.
But listen to how you're thinking. That's the mindset that the media has.
I was joking. I was totally joking.
I know you
I was being
are,
a liberal.
But let me tell you, the liberals and the media has promoted that. We are capitalists and Republicans on this call, on this video. We're libertarians, we're independents. And what I want you to understand that there are people who are living good lives and that you deserve the same kind of life. Let's pray the video continues to work. Hold on.
Number 7, Friendly, Maryland. Friendly is a prosperous, upscale Black community that makes the top 10 list with a median family income of $103,000. Friendly is another affluent, predominantly Black neighborhood in Prince George's County, Maryland, with an African-American makeup of 74%. Landing in at the number 7 spot, Friendly has the largest
Shirley?
number of Black-owned
Yeah.
businesses of
FYI, okay, so I'm doing some research now. Okay, so the Black communities that are in Maryland and DC, they are all like, they pretty much work within the government contracting, lobbying, so on and so forth. So they're in that kind of businesses surrounded by that, and then the businesses that support those communities. That's where the wealth is coming from. FYI, I just looked it up right now.
That's a good point. So they're able to leverage government opportunities
Yes.
to maintain their lifestyle. And the further west you get, we don't have those same leverage possibilities.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Exactly.
And that's why we in California are just frantic. I mean, the Blacks here, we're down to 6%, but because they dominate and they work more in step lock with each other better than what we do.
And also I'm researching saying that majority of them are part of the, I wouldn't say boule, but they were sororities and things of that nature. But they pretty much deal with government contracting, government contracts. They work for the government and all the different alphabet agencies, DEA, CIA, FBI, so on and so forth. And then also people open up businesses supporting those communities as well. So there's business owners there. Like say, for example, they own like a clothing store, shoe store. They have, restaurants and so on and so forth that support the situation of those that are there. So that's one I just wanted to put that out there.
Any community on this list. The Friendly area was largely rural until about 1960 and has steadily grown with the emergence of multiple upscale single-family housing developments. The median home value for Friendly is $269,000. Number 6, Ladera Heights, California. This stunning community, located near beautiful beaches and nearby cities such as Hollywood and Los Angeles, ranks number 6 with an average family income of $103,000. Ladera Heights is an affluent Black prestigious community in the sunny state of California, where much of the area's appeal stems from the stunning views of the Pacific Ocean. Ladera's African-American population stands at 71%. In addition to hillside houses, as well as its proximity to the beaches and Hollywood, over 50% of the community's adults have a 4-year college degree. This influential community is divided by Lower and Upper Ladera to distinguish old and new African-American money in this area. Located near Culver City and also known as the Hidden Neighborhood, its residents remain low-key about their affluence. The median home value for Ladera Heights is $789,000.
Now, the flagship bushel, well, we have
Damn.
Yeah, we know that's the Dons. Those of us who live in California, those are considered the Dons. But I'm telling you, white people are moving up in those areas. They want them properties.
Yep.
Number 5, Fort Washington, Maryland. This prosperous community is located just south of Washington, D.C., and has an average family income of $104,000. This little star fort down the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. was once the only defensive fort protecting the U.S. Capitol. Fort Washington is an upper middle-class Black community with a 68% African-American population. Young professionals with families and college students predominantly live in Fort Washington. The median home value for Fort Washington is $305,000. Welcome again to blackexcellence.com. Please follow us on Instagram.
How do I get in there?
Wine, Maryland.
What did you say?
One of the most flourishing African-American cities in the United States, with a median.
Okay, oh shit, I fucked up. Excuse me, cursing. I'll put it back. Let me tell you why flagship said that, y'all. What y'all don't understand is that it costs a lot for us to live in California, and we don't even have houses that look this good here. I mean, we do, but it's like $700 and some odd $1,000, right? What number are we at? Number 4, 5? Oh yeah, we're number 5. And she said that average house is about $300,000, and you got a water view point. Flagship, talk to me. What's your thought?
It's just all. I mean, this video is a whole nother league. I didn't even know about this. And come to find out, I'm doing research. We don't ever hear about no unarmed police shootings in these parts of Maryland, maybe like Metro Baltimore, but we don't hear no Fort Washington unarmed police. We don't hear DeMarco getting shot in Fort Washington, Maryland.
You hear about it in Chicago. Every nigga's living in Chicago.
And so you know what this means? There's power. and influence in their community, this community can come together and get things popping. They don't have police problems in this kind of situation, which goes to show my point in the past. We'll get the economics on point. We can get things better for ourselves. And this is just another league. And what are they doing? And how can we get into this? What was set up back in the day to where they're set up this way now, and how can we set other communities up this way for the future?
I think part of the problem is media in Hollywood. We make an assumption that New York, California, Chicago, Atlanta are the only places we live. There are Black people who are thriving with a $300,000 house, with a $200,000 house on 5 acres, 2 acres, a half an acre, who have beautiful neighbors, who don't make a whole bunch of money, but yet they are doing extremely well. We have to get out of our box. And right now, that means that maybe some of us might have to move. And I've talked about that. But where do we move? Well, I'm going to put a video at the end of our video, a link where you guys should go back and watch this and then research these cities and these towns, because many of these towns are thriving economically and they have jobs. So
and look at this. The median income is $104,000.
Say it again.
The median income in Fort Washington, Maryland, $104,000. That's good money anywhere in the country. Well, maybe not New York, but it's still, if you're $104,000 living in New York, you're not going to be poor. You're just going to be kind of struggling a little bit. But $104,000, your house is pretty much $300,000, $400,000, and you got views of the Potomac River, and you got a neighborhood that you got folks running with strollers and stuff. I'm cool with that. I'll be like, Shirley, you want me to bring you some okra over? I'll be chilling. I'll be over in a minute. I'll bring the coffee and okra. Let's go.
Well, this is why you see some of these liberals, these Black liberals who live in these towns, who don't understand immigration or illegal immigration, because they go, well, there's nothing wrong with them. We can equate to allowing them in our community. But what we're saying is, no, you can't, because they seize and conquer.
Exactly.
And so we're trying to protect you and prepare you, those of us on the West Coast. But honestly, we can see here, there are a lot of people who are thriving. Let's get to number one.
We live in Fort Washington. The median home value for Fort Washington is $305,000. Welcome again to blackexcellence.com. Please follow us on Instagram. Number 4, Brandywine, Maryland. Brandywine is recognized
another Maryland.
Flourishing African American cities in the United States with a median family income of $118,000. This is another upscale, upper middle class community in Prince George's County, with 66% of its population being African American. This predominantly Black neighborhood is surrounded by parks and wildlife areas that make it feel like it's a world apart from nearby Washington, D.C. The median home value for Brandywine is $315,000.
Now, did you see them houses? I mean, these people are living. The rest of us are sitting back scratching our heads in California.
They are living.
They are living. Come on, act right, video. They're living.
I guarantee number one is probably Potomac.
Mitchellville, Maryland. This upper middle class
Maryland
average family income of $121,000. It has a makeup of 84% African Americans and can boast of its excellent schools and a high school graduation rate of 80%. Most Mitchellville students go to colleges like nearby Johns Hopkins University, Georgetown University, and the U.S. Naval Academy. Mitchellville, too, is a prosperous African-American gated community in Prince George's County in Maryland. Residents of Mitchellville take tremendous pride in their friendly community and beautiful homes. The median home value for Mitchellville is $327,000.
What?
Number 2, Rosaryville, Maryland. This upper middle
Maryland
is another neighborhood within Prince George's County with an average family income of $117,000. It has a makeup of 80% African Americans. With its close proximity to Washington, D.C., Rosary has many arts and entertainment venues, such as museums.
Can you go pause real quick, Shirley?
As well as nightlife activities.
All right, go ahead.
Now, notice they keep saying proximity to Washington, D.C. So pretty much these people are coordinated exactly what we're talking about. They're getting their set-asides. Because the set-asides is based upon your proximity to Washington, D.C. and your ability to open your mouth and speak on your community. So it seems like these folks have done a set-aside for their little clique within the clique of Black people. So I mean, that's one thing I keep hearing overall: proximity to DC, proximity to DC, proximity to DC.
Also, historically, they've been able to maintain an infrastructure of,
Yes.
of unity where we were not, especially because
Exactly.
look, they're close to Washington, D.C., and we're close to the borders.
Ooh, yes. Okay, Shirley, hold that thought. You gotta expand on that one because that's exactly where I was trying to go. You hit it right on the head.
Okay, I'm gonna play number one, and I'm gonna let y'all talk because my phone, my computer's dying, and I'll go get my cord. But let's keep going.
Rosaryville's story is emblematic of the socioeconomic and demographic evolution of Prince George's County that occurred in the mid-1980s. Against the strong resistance of many large national builders who perceived Prince George's County as a cheap retreat for urban African Americans who couldn't afford upscale amenities for their homes, Black buyers rushed to embrace elaborate features such as two-car garages, brick, and lush landscaping. The median home value for Rosaryville is $300,000.
So she's saying at one point, nobody else, they didn't want that community. So the Blacks have said, well, we'll take it. It's in proximity. It's got all the amenities that we want. And then good other wealthy Black people came in, rose up, and made a difference. Number one,
Whitmore, Maryland. Rounding off our list at the number one spot is a prosperous upscale community in, yes, you guessed it, Prince George's County, Maryland.
$140,000 a year.
Prince George's County is the county to go to.
We'll get you this house. Jesus takes the wheel. These people are living.
As with all of the Prince George communities on our top 10 list, Woodmore is an ideal location for first-time buyers, young families, as well as professionals who work in Washington, D.C. This prestigious community is 84% American and has a median family income of $140,000. Woodmore is an affluent African-American gated community centered on a private country club and golf course, the Country Club at Woodmore. The golf course is designed by Arnold Palmer. Home values in Woodmore are among the highest in the state of Maryland, demonstrating both the sophisticated tastes and buying power of the predominantly African-American market. It is one of the most well-educated cities in the U.S., where 58% of adults have earned a bachelor's degree from college. Woodmore is home to the popular amusement park Six Flags America. The median home value for Woodmore is $398,000.
That is definitely some Black person's house.
Did we miss anyone? If you want to nominate your neighborhood or have a suggestion or two for our next
got
edition,
the spinning art and all that.
American
Spinning
neighborhood,
art definitely.
comments below.
Tammy, I was gonna ask you. It's like Tammy. I was like, I'm not the only one that know that's a Black person's house for real.
They stepped it out. They're like, you gonna know we showing out.
Okay, keep talking. I gotta tap out and look at my plug.
They said,
but one of the things
they said, make sure the candy dish bowl is spinning.
Hey, Tammy, camera's on.
Church candy.
So
no, but that's exactly. I think this is an example. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going on. You're talking.
I said this is a culmination of everything I think we're talking about. I think these individuals worked in DC at the right time. I think these are all the ones who were in the right place, the right time during the 60s, and they just kind of just replicated their own little set-asides and cliques within themselves and got home builders to build for them. And then boom, you got nice houses. And then everybody moves there. And then the neighborhoods are good to go because guess what? Again, proximity to DC. We kept hearing that. And Prince George's County was probably the place where they said, okay, we can have this one county as a set-aside, get builders to build there. We can live, peace, tranquility, get our kids in good schools, and just keep the train moving on. Because the average age was like 46, and they do these government jobs. Those government jobs in DC, they pay a lot of money, like hundreds of $1,000s here, $100,000 there, $146,000. So this is exactly what the culmination of a set aside will look like. And with things, we need to replicate that. We need to replicate this consistently throughout the country.
No, there's just a bunch of Olivia Pope's with Jenny's ice creams in the freezer.
Oh, ouch, Tammy. Oh, I was trying to live in La La Land, but you're like, nah, Demetrius, I'm taking you back down to reality.
There's a bunch of Olivia Popes. Nah, I'm playing. I guarantee you, most of them do work in government, though.
They all work in government. That's the whole point.
So let's take it. Let's talk about what President Trump just put out yesterday. What he talked about yesterday. He said that he's opening federal government positions for the younger generation or people with passion and the skill set to come and apply for and focus more on federal government to focus more on hiring people with the skill set and not just solely based off their a degree or certification, but to focus more on their skill set. Think about all the trade classes in schools and colleges, like community colleges, but mainly high schools are mainly focused on trade. We have like 10 trade classes in Alabama, in my town where a high school is, that once they graduate, they can go directly into the workforce if they take their skill set seriously. They can go straight to a federal government position.
What does that mean for them to take their skill set seriously? Does that mean good, excellent grades, or does that mean going through an initiation?
Well, this is what I depict from it. You could probably go read. It was actually just put out yesterday. So you have a child who's in high school taking up, let's see, welding, construction. Some are taking some sort of course where is mainly trade, like the biggest one here. Right. So if they're actually, their grades, if they're actually killing it at every angle and they have a passion for it, and their teacher gave them, they worked hard for their grades, they passed all their courses, and then they actually can apply for a job in the federal government, but they have to be hungry. They have to want it.
So there's no opportunity for nepotism whatsoever. It's not like where the principal knows his grandmother personally. So the principal, of course, is going to write this tremendous recommendation letter. And it has, so that's what I'm trying to discern. Like, what are the requirements of this exclusive access?
So I guess
did he emphasize that, or was he kind of, mysterious like he always is?
Well, I read the headline and I didn't get a chance to read it, to actually listen to the entire speech, but it's out there. But it looks like he's focusing strictly on just opening up avenues for people to be hired into a federal government. But technically, my brother worked in federal government, and he didn't just get in. There's a couple of series of tests you have to take to see if you show yourself approved. You can't just get in.
Yeah, definitely. You have to have some really good markers so that you are justified for the position. You can't just be that uncle in the back room and all of a sudden you got this good government job, that type of thing. You have to actually fit the suit, so to speak. However, there are some people who have exceptional demonstrations of accolades and just accomplishments, and then somebody who is mediocre gets the job. You know what I'm saying? And it has to do with nepotism on some level. So I was just wondering, like, for instance, in Chicago, the president of the Chicago State University, they're initiating free tuition for upcoming freshmen. And then they said the only requirement is that they go through a 6-week summer program. But the details of what the 6-week summer program aren't being outlined. And I know from my experiences in Chicago, it's all about nepotism in Chicago.
Yep, absolutely.
And so I just wonder how we can hold these politicians accountable for as to whether or not they're practicing nepotism. Because I think a lot of talented individuals miss their shine because of nepotism. I don't believe in nepotism. I know why it exists. I know, we want our brother, sister, cousin, and 1,100 children to come up over everybody else, but that's not really noble. That's not noble. It's noble for someone that has, as you said, who's hungry, who has earned that position to be placed in that position. And nepotism you know, I think to be quite honest, that's why Jewish people have advanced. You know, they practice nepotism like for real.
But
And I think it might be time.
they understand general wealth
And they
as
get talent
well.
from us. They get talent from us to make money and to practice nepotism. So we are their talent pool. So
Oh
did I
yeah,
say that
we're
out loud? Yes,
definitely
I
the corner.
did. I said,
We're definitely that cornerstone that they exploit. Definitely.
yep.
Anyway, I'm Mella, and it's nice to meet everyone. Greetings and blessings.
Hey,
Melody,
Bella.
it's wonderful. We love your insights. You have a lot of great insight. Let me try to see if I can put my thoughts on the table with what you said regarding nepotism and favoritism and how wealth and government is established. If we like it or not, it's just the fact. Who you know, what you know, moves you ahead. I think as African American people, we've been partly duped. We keep telling each other, well, I'm going to get a master's, a doctorate. I'm going to get all these different degrees. When people have degrees and they still out of work, we could get a trade and still make it over 100,000 a year. And then it comes down to who you know. We're talking about generational wealth. Generational wealth comes from nepotism. My father did this. He knew somebody, and his kids, I grew up with his kids. I went to school with his kids, and I brought him on board. Governments ran like this. You saw from previous administrations, they hired classmates that they used to work with, and now they're running an executive office in the branches of government. Well, how is this person eligible? Because the president went to college with that person. It's always about who you know. But we as African American people, we know people, then we get selfish. We don't want to share with nobody. We don't
That's
want to
correct.
put each other up. We don't want to create that same pattern of fabric that they are doing within the guidelines of America. Now, we can say we don't like it is one thing, but to not benefit from it is another. And we are not benefiting because we don't play the right game board. And that game board says, look, it's not about the damn degree. It's about who you know. It's about the polishedness. It's about the polishedness means being polished enough to sell whatever you're trying to sell in front of whoever you need to sell. To be
That
at
is
the right location,
correct.
going to the right event. Knowing, for example, we saw all those rich properties. They were near golf courses. They were near country clubs. We need to be in the country clubs. We need to be in the golf courses. Ladies need to have a little bit more of a Stepford wife look. Sisters need to look a little sexier, a little bit more polished. Even if you were broke, go to the thrift store. Start looking at how these people look, smell like them, talk like them. And don't allow the media to say, oh, I'm the next victim. I'm going to be the next one pulled over. Don't let that energy of failure embrace into your diaspora. You have to shift yourself to say, when I wake up, I am renewed. The scriptures say, I am new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. Have faith in God and yourself that you have a freshness and a newness in a world of darkness. I wanted you to see with those new homes, those people have life. Those people are moving on. Those people go to bed, they wake up in a 10,000, 3,000, 4,000, 2,000 square foot house. In the meantime, we are watching the rats and roaches implode upon each other. How do we stop that? We stop that erosion by putting our minds in the same alignment as what we just saw in these videos and the discussion with these panel members that we have right here. Anyone's thoughts?
They leave us to wish as opposed to conduct and construct. They leave us to wish. That is that's how we deceive ourselves as a people, in my humble opinion. That exactly networking, sir. We are, as opposed to focusing on what produces results, we are distracted by all this shenanigans of media entertainment and those distractions that come with it, that we're neglecting common sense. Common sense tells, like the gentleman just, the banner you just posted, networking. You have to, in my humble opinion, actually congregate with people that are about supporting a common goal of upward mobility. And then that becomes infectious and it spreads out throughout the community. And everybody, for whatever, since we like to follow stuff so much, since we're easily programmed so doggone much, next thing you know, those people who are focused on upward mobility, as their numbers grow, they are actually impacting the mindset of those who are just, dare I say, just mumbling along, because there are people that are just complacent with mediocre. They just want to be mediocre as long as they can,
But doesn't that go back to that old statement where if you know better, you do better? And sometimes
Yes.
some people just don't know better. In California, we got 7 generations of welfare recipients. So if your grandmother was on welfare, your mother's mother was on welfare, and
that's why I was saying, Shirley, about wishing, because you can't watch. I don't care how many generations it were. Not to disagree with you, I'm just saying I don't care how many generations of welfare there are. There's that television, and for us to witness through media that there is a better way of life, I'm not one to believe that people don't know better, because they're watching it. They're watching that there is a better way of life. They don't want to do it.
But look, isn't it about action then? If we watch it,
of course,
that doesn't equate to action. And everyone you're around are part of your influencement. Yes, you watch it and you know it exists, but maybe to the person watching it, it's like, oh, it's for them and not for me. Because if you saw where I lived, I would be embarrassed to show you. Or if you knew how I lived, I would be embarrassed to show you. So
let's keep in mind that you are correct in that people do need to be taught to think. I agree. I agree with you. People do need to be taught to think. Just because they see fabulous things on quote unquote the television and in media, they have to be taught to comprehend that it's accessible for them. It takes effort, steps, and time.
So how does that become a reality for people? I mean, we're both agreeing on each other what we're both saying, because what you're saying is totally true, because you would think when you got the knowledge, just do it. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. So how does the ease that comes in when we go back to what Tammy was talking about?
I guess I would just compare it to a hoarder. Someone that is overwhelmed with the excess that is accumulated in their psyche, and until someone is able to teach them how to think of a way to construct a more organized lifestyle for themselves, so they can map out a more lucrative plan. You have to teach. Like, a hoarder is going to be a hoarder until you teach them to disassociate their self from failure.
Okay, so are we all being hoarders right now with the way the media
Black people, we as Black people, we're emotional hoarders, because we're holding on.
Right, say that again. I like that. Black people, what?
We're emotional hoarders.
Okay.
In my humble opinion.
Real talk. Go ahead, that's true.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted to say
No,
something.
I love that. I love what you just said, because we're emotional hoarders. I think that might be number 1 on our list, because we quick at getting.
We gotta clear out that pardon me for using the D word. We have to clear out that emotional clutter that has perpetuated itself for generations. It's just something in our psyche has been branded with emotional clutter. It's like a tattoo, and believe it or not, there is a way to remove that tattoo. You just gotta one has to appoint oneself to remove that brand that is in your brain, that you're designated for something other than glory. You know,
And,
you just
we need
got
to
to
stop
believe
voting
it.
for these Democrats too.
Well, now I heard you all talk about the political environment that we have basically two devils to choose from. And that's really disturbing on so many levels, because really to not vote means that it's endorsing one or the other. So I don't know what to do in terms of that. You know, I don't know how to communicate to anyone how they, I mean, are they supposed to just vote independent? Are they
No,
supposed to write their own
they-
name in the ballot?
no.
I mean, I don't know what people supposed to do.
Just vote for liberty. That's it.
Here's the thing that we need to understand. You talked about the emotional fog and the cloudiness and things of that nature. But the thing is, voting is an exchange, and every time we come to the table serious, and I want to be honest. There's been a lot of people like Shirley. There's been Phil from but there's been a lot of people who've been coming in serious without that emotional fog. But then every time we come and sit down with that emotional fog, here comes these liberals with their little side groups and things of that nature. And they come in with their backing, they come with their money, and they come and walk us off the dang table. And the thing is, no other group has that but us. Let me break it down to you. Like, I have friends who are Jewish. Let me tell you something. When the Jews speak, they have their designated people who are experts in the field, and they open their mouth and speak, and no one opens their mouth. If you even think about opening up your mouth, they have a system within their community to shut you the hell down. Don't you open up your mouth if you ain't designated. And the same thing with the Asian community. And the thing is, what does that translate to? Well, we're talking about set asides. But
Right.
we're the only community, like, I forget who's the person who said that? Melina. Oh, let me see here. I want to make sure I get the name correct. Well, the
we
person
have
just said,
yet to manifest our true power, because
exactly.
you know, we're distracted. I mean, we went from being what do you call it, colored. I remember my grandfather, he used to call us, you know, he used to call black people colored, because that's the term he was familiar with. Then it went to what, African American, then it went to black, and then, you know, it's like we're so busy, you know, being caught up in how we're going to adorn ourselves with a term,
But that's not
as
us.
opposed, it's just ridiculous. It's like that's why we're so addicted to gym shoes and other material things. We're not focused on what really matters. It's like all we got to do is just. I just why I appreciate the word Negro. That because no one else can designate themselves as Negro. No one.
Thank you.
And that's what makes it distinctive. The more distinct that we are, then we can perform acts of legislation that accommodate our distinction. But when we getting caught up in this, what do you call it? When we getting caught up in this, these these pseudo multiracial terms, that's how affirmative action got caught up, you know, because they started using minority. The minority, that was the loophole that was the loophole that shut it down. Then next thing you know, they used that loophole to institute this campaign of reverse racism. And next thing you know, we don't have affirmative action. It was vomit worthy for me to realize we lost affirmative action. That was a legislation that was so powerful, and the only quirk was that word minority. It's like, why didn't that man say descendants of kidnapped Negroes or something? Why didn't he do that? You know, I mean, just make it more distinctive, because minorities is too open-ended. As long as we identify ourselves that is closed, shut, case, distinctive, then legislation can be applied directly to us. Because I saw some of the documents that you presented, Shirley, about Asian Pacific and what was the mother people calling it? So all them stuff, you know. And then you got Indian, I don't know what they call them people, Native Americans that
Demons.
look really, really vanilla to me.
Exactly. Yes.
And I'm like, these people are finding legislative loopholes in this English language. And
Mhm.
and we have to find the geniuses among us, okay, that will, shut that down. We have to find somebody that is, dare I say, diabolical enough in how to, there are people that know how to navigate around the quote unquote King's English, and they will find a very distinctive term that cannot be manipulated legislatively. That's what we need.
Don't you also find it interesting? Don't you find it interesting that
we can come up with the money? We can come up with the money, but we just need for everybody to be on one accord, believing in the effort. I'm going on.
Let me
mute.
ask you a
Thank
question though. Let me ask you a quick question though. No, don't go off. Don't come back home. Come back in. I got a question for you.
I'm not leaving.
Don't you find it interesting that every time we get moving on our we get moving, we get taken up? Because remember, we was doing this movement in 2016, and then we had to do a set aside because the Me Too movement came in. Then we got moving again. Then Trans 1.0 came in. We set aside again. We set back down. Then we got moving again. There was something else that came in. We set back down. Now we got moving another time. Now here we come with the LGBTQ again. What do you have to say about every time we get moving? We got these dang side groups jumping in on us. Oh, like gay's the new black. This is the new black. Everything's the new black when we get moving. When we try to talk about stuff when they're going on, oh no, we're gonna save that for later. What do you have to say about that?
God's gonna make us earn our glory. He's
Okay,
gonna make us
besides that.
earn it. That's my response to your question. He's gonna make us earn it. I'm not certain as to how it will evolve. However, the time has come, and
I'm going to add to that. Not to cut you off, Melba. I'm going to go back to what Sean said to you earlier, Flagship, when you said, "Well, why didn't he come in and sign that executive order faster with the statutes?" And like Sean Scott had said earlier, sometimes you have to allow chaos to commit so that the calm will come in. Because if someone comes and saves you right away, then you're not going to learn anything from it. You got to feel some pain.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. God's going to make us earn it, because otherwise we would squander it. You know what I'm saying?
And
how much more pain do we need? I mean, Jesus Christ.
But think about the COVID money that people are getting right now. People are getting this COVID money and they could be saving it. But instead of them saving that COVID money, they're squandering. And who knows, after this election, we come out of COVID-19. We might go into another shutdown. So my goal is that in our videos that we talk about not only the financial and the emotional, but the mental strength that we need to have. Now, if one thing Negroes got is that we are some strong-minded individual. We're like a dog on a bone that we ain't gonna let go. That's why we've survived better than anyone else in this country. We're survivors. And the only way we're going to...
And we look good doing it.
Come on now. And we look good doing it. And we look good got good skin, good hair, and got some good teeth on us, okay? Some good teethers. So in knowing all of that, we have to have that mindset of understanding it ain't getting better. I don't want you to leave this video or leave here thinking tonight, oh man, I got so motivated, it's all going to turn around. It's only going to turn around when you start to turn around. It's only going to turn around when you start to turn around. Now look what Flagship said. Did you notice how those properties were centralized towards Washington, D.C., where those people are able to, of course, help another family member, got them in on a job or whatever they have to do. They're able to leverage off of the federal government because they're closer in. Those of us who have been detrimentally taken down in California are from immigrants and illegal immigrants, and we are closer to what? The border. And,
yes.
and further away from the constitutional mindset leaders of our founding fathers. We're in a state that is full of treasonous operating operatives. We have been filtrated with MS-13s and gang members that have gone and worked within the police department, and we have majority of Latin communities within California. Now, in saying all of that, where does that put us as African American people? I'm gonna put that out there and see what you guys think.
I'll be the first to say that. How can I say this without sounding crass?
Or just put it out there. We don't care.
Yeah, we cool.
It's a safe space. Safe space.
When it comes to the Latin community, you know, it from my observation, it is their intention to enact kingship in this country. That's their intention. I mean, heck, there's a Chicago gang called Latin Kings. They didn't do that by accident. It is their intention to enact kingship in this country. And so do you think they're really interested in being our friends?
No.
So when we use the term black and brown coalition, does that really exist?
No.
No. Yeah, it could. It could.
No, it can't.
I don't want it to. I don't want them. I don't want to roll with them.
It can't at this point in the game, and we can't lean our energy towards that. But we just at least have to live in our own reality. And there's no tea, no shade to brown or black people, whatever side you're on. But the reality is that we need to stay more in the specifics of, like you said, the Negro, the African-American descendants of Negro slaves, the foundational people.
And as soon as we start asserting that, everybody's going to be so pissed at us because it's like, how dare they make themselves a distinctive category of people where they could thrive. You know what I'm saying? As long as we are hypnotized to the point where we just feel, you know, trapped in a corner to blend in with everybody, then, you know, everybody is cool. But as soon as there's strength in numbers amongst us, where it's like, hold on, we have a specific distinctive trait.
But it's long overdue.
The Latin community has a distinctive system within Catholicism. I mean, what Lawrence Jones is saying is absolutely correct. In Los Angeles,
yeah.
Those, I mean, they tell them to have babies. They're telling those people, you need to have more babies.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're married or not married. They've always
Catholicism is very strong amongst Latin Americans or Latin people. It's very strong. And it is telling
and
them.
And they're nasty too, raping little boys and stuff. Just nasty.
And they're loiterers too. They litter like, I mean, man, look, I lived in a walk-up, right? And there was this Latin family above me in the walk-up. And, you know, they're doing their family thing or whatever, kids running around, no problem. One day, I got all these flies that are trying to penetrate my window screen. And I'm like, where the hell are all these flies coming from all of a sudden? And I look and I see where they dumped just their food out the window. And then in another area of the apartment, the woman pours her mop water out of the kitchen window. And it's like,
exactly.
It's like, look, man, if y'all don't know how to, you know, refrain from your third world fucking living mentality, we don't want to deal with that, you know, because it's a nice walk up, and there was no reason for them to exercise that third world mentality. And that is the danger of foreigners. Yeah, I said it, damn it. That's the danger of foreigners and their cultural hiccups encountering what would otherwise be a more civilized existence. You know, it's like that's very distractionary, you know, to have people bring their third world habits all up in here. You know what I'm
But
saying?
guess
That's
what?
real.
But Melba, where are you located?
Midwest.
Well, I'll just let you know, in
Ooh.
California, that's our reality. That's
Yep.
our new normal. What you
I
talk?
can't imagine
It's
living
a
in.
wrap. It's a
I
wrap.
can't imagine living in California.
I'm telling you, it's a wrap for Black people. It's a wrap.
I can't imagine living in California.
And it's
that would scare me.
Okay, so I got one more video, and then we're gonna shut it down. But I got to show you this video. This video is going to change your life.
Oh God, here we go.
It's a video that we did previously, but I want to break this video down. I'm going to try to move through it. It's a lot of information, but we're talking about set-asides, right? We're talking about the mindset. We're talking about being prepared for what might come about in December, because remember, we have sight beyond sight. But if we are not prepared and we allow ourselves to be cluttered by the media and YouTube and the Karens and Kevins of the world, we will not be prepared for what is about to be embarked upon us. But God needs vessels, and since we are God's chosen people, we should be able to hear him. Now, what we saw in this previous video with the way that the livelihood is on DC is the golden ticket because we live in the United States of America. And executive orders have allotted money for that. But other things that have allotted money is set aside grants, loans, and contracts. And we African American people are not looking at the grants and the contracts. So I wanted to show you a little bit of grants and contracts, and if you don't have them, how you can acquire them. But I want you to hear this video that we did a while back, and we talked about that. Let's talk about it.
Of an election year where we're seeing what we're encountering, and then it's a pandemic. It's happening worldwide. How Black freedom in China and being pushed out of school. American Blacks as well as Africans. Don't get it twisted. They got American Blacks who decided to go to China for some goddamn reason. And they're pushed out as homeless. And they got pictures of Blacks that are homeless. But if we're gonna, I want to bring in a little taste of Africa.
And new.
Sorry
and you
about
happen to
that.
have the minorities. If you look at most of these businesses in the online, go to Walmart, Target, Macy's. At the bottom of their websites, you'll see a link that says diversity program. I'm curious to find out how many Black people, business owners, who actually participate in these programs. I bet you it's very low. So I think that's what we need to start, is to target and tackle the things that are there for us to take advantage of, and do it in a strategic way to where we can use those numbers and go back to our government counterparts and say, listen, we have 10,000 people that have businesses that have participated in this program. Why aren't we getting any approvals? It makes the government have to look at itself in the mirror on these programs. But if we're not willing to do that, then we're just wasting our time.
So what I'm hearing you saying is we have to restructure ourselves right now. We need to look at the fact of where we are as individuals, because this is an opportunity where we need to think, depending on somebody else, including the government, is failing us. They're telling us to not pay rent for 3 months and 4 months in California, or don't pay your mortgage. And when you come out of this, there's going to be repercussions. And you're saying, even if there's repercussions, we should have been ready, right? We should have had the 8 set-aside contracts, which we don't know about, that are out there. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, in part, to 007 was saying, it's true with China having its own banks and bringing its own money. They're actually able to use those programs to help fund in our communities these stores, whether it be gas stations, whether it be wig shops or convenience spots or something like that. The state 8A program has, I think it's a one-time $6 to $8 million investment that they make. And this is structured through the federal government that's set aside, that's mandated to be spent. And no Black person, if you look at most Black communities around the country, you'll find that most of the stores are owned by Arabs. And I have nothing against any of these people. But the problem with talking about unemployment, for example, well, the unemployment is the lowest in history. Well, that's wonderful and great, but we're employed. We're not owners. And that's what we need to focus on. Even the opportunity zones that Senator Tim Scott brought about. Where is that in their protections for Black people to say we need to own some of this this new business development in Black communities? So if the economic downturn comes again, more Black people are going to be more inclined to take care of their own versus people that aren't from your community who can just shut down and go somewhere else, who don't live in your community to begin with, and who don't invest in your community. So it doesn't make sense for us not to take advantage of these programs. We should have a thorough knowledge of them. We should be fully participating in them, and we should be overrunning these programs with Black business submissions.
You know, I have to agree with what you're saying, brother. My thing is when we're looking at when those banks coming over from the Chinese or whatnot, man, so many federal programs and grants go through those banks because they can. And not only that is that I go to a lot of meetings before this COVID-19, and one thing I've always told people, that's good to have a conversation, and we got good ideas. And I'm not saying what's on this, we're talking about now, but I'm saying, one of the things is, we have a lot of people that are wrapped up in these churches, and they're not doing anything. And what's crazy is that, like you said, there's a set aside. We're not even having these kind of conversations. And, we get mad at Hispanics because I tell you this much, I think it was about a week ago, they said Hispanic caucus was just talking to President Trump. And I look at the Black caucus, and they haven't said anything to the man in 3 years, but they just insulted him. Here it is that, the Hispanics are being deported out of here in record numbers. And their caucus is still talking. And I'll sit here and I'll talk to some of the people in the streets going, well, man, Trump is a racist. They can't talk to him. So we cut ourselves off. And we've cut ourselves off by believing in the Black caucus, by believing in a lot of these Black organizations. I just think that, let me stop saying think, but we need to also look at it locally because we're very much impacted here in California. We need to look at a caucus here in California. And I'll lead that charge, because Black people are hurt in California, because no one is going to these meetings. No one is going to these. Black people majority of us are sitting here and not engaged at all. And I mean, we don't see this as an issue. Like I said, I went out and talked to some people and, they said, man, I got to go back to work and this, and I'm seeing Black businesses close because they can't deal with it anymore. They don't have that capital. Where Suit Lee and Lopez and Cisneros, they got a bank to go to carry them. And some businesses are not informed. And I look at what's her name, Congresswoman Bass's webpage, and she sends emails, but all she does is talk about how bad Trump is. That's not going to do anybody any good. That's just not.
So let me say this to you, gentlemen. What I'm hearing from both of you guys, we're talking about leverage, positioning ourselves, and then execution. Because if you cannot leverage yourself with some type of financial restitution, some type of, like we've heard about the certifications, which I want to go more into because what tomorrow's statement is so true. And if we can't identify that other people are able to leverage. Now, when we talk about wealth and opportunity within the Black community, I'm going to go with what Ronald. Ronald said weed shops. I talked about this in the last video. Before it was, we saw liquor stores, we had Jesus everywhere with the Jesus church people, and these Black older ministers who are dying at the masses nationwide, a lot of them because they didn't want to close their church down because they needed money. They live off of the Lord. So they didn't want to be responsible and staying home. A lot of their asses are old and they passed away. That's not a wise thing to do. But fast forward in 2020, we don't have the churches and the alcohol as much, though it's still there. We're dealing with weed shops and Black people who really want to get into the weed industry, which are being blocked by Jews and Arabs. And what I'm hearing from tomorrow is that we should pivot away from all those inner city vices that normally suppress us and keep us wrapped up in buffoonery and leverage ourselves into certifications. And maybe through these certifications, remember this is about COVID-19 and having the money to deal with the fact that we are dying, Black people are dying. But Black people need money, Black people need to be positioned, and Black people need a person that can execute a leverage power. We're talking about.
What's your thoughts, people? Say it again.
I'm sorry.
Are we on?
Yeah, you're on mute. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that's a good live stream right there. The thing that stood out to me most of all was the word diversity. I'm sickened by how we accept being labeled for as anything other than what we are. Because diverse, what do they call it? Diversity programs, this program, minority programs. That ain't got any old slickster can actually manipulate the law to make that all inclusive.
Okay, so stop with your thought. So originally, the government set these set aside structures for minority, which were African American people. It had a clarity to it. But when DACA and NAFTA came into place, they encroached upon our space within government set asides. And so what happened was they were able to leverage these programs because they studied them. We, on the other hand, didn't even know of their existence or their importance to our livelihood. Now, if you live in the DC area, that whole area that we just saw, Virginia, Maryland, those people have a better clarification, not only on Black history, but they also understand the set asides and the contracts that many of them have able to acquire. But when we talk about Black people, again, having knowledge and not sharing it, it has stifled us. And yet with other cultures of people, they've taken the set aside minorities, people of color, whatever the way it is written, to work for them and their advantage. And so what you're seeing in this video is someone that understands governmental contracts. And unfortunately, it says that it's for minority. And then some of them are very clear. There was one I looked at the other day. It's for Native America. It's for Islanders. What we need to do is have them understand we need something for the African American descendants of Negro slaves.
That's all I'm saying.
Africans, but Negro slaves who are descendants. We are descendants of Africans who are in this country who want to make sure that that's set aside of that. Let's say if you have, hold your thought. If you have 100% saying 100% of this goes to minorities and yet only 2% go to Blacks, well, that's a problem for us when we're 13% of the population. But unless we understand the games that are being played upon us and how the structure of government has evolved into, then we're not going to get ahead and how to work the system.
Yes, I'm gonna need somebody that is a genius with the lexicon to come up with a word that is so distinctive, that is impenetrable. I say what makes us different in this country from any other citizen is that we are descendants of the kidnapped. We were kidnapped. You know, I mean, as much as I want to acknowledge slave, the word slave, I don't like the connotation of slave.
But it's the reality of what we are.
However, no, there are people that volunteer to be slaves. There are people that volunteer to be slaves sexually and otherwise. But when you're kidnapped, no, I'm serious. Well, I'm serious though. When you're kidnapped, you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice but to submit to your captor, as opposed to slave. You know, to me, slave, that's like that has an open door of volunteerism to it.
No, it doesn't.
I don't like the word slave. I don't like the word slave.
Well,
I just don't
like the word, but it's historically recorded and it's documented. Hold on, we
were kidnapped.
Mabel, hold on.
True.
Let me say this to you. Our show is based on facts, legislation, law, and documents. Now, it's not the choice of words that we may want to incorporate today, but it's the words that they utilized back then that is what we're holding them accountable to. So we have to stick to legislation and law. Go ahead, Flagship.
But I was just gonna say, I understand exactly. I don't want to be. I don't want to come across as belittling of what you say. I understand exactly what you said. We get it. We understand. But to change the language from slave to kidnapping, that is just something that's just way too far off. But being a slave is also kidnapping was a part of becoming a slave because they kidnapped us to become slaves and so on and so forth. So I get what you're saying, but I don't want to dismiss what you're saying at all. I understand it, but to change the language like that, can't go there with you.
And let me say something. Slave equates to pain, right? Slave equates to pain. It equates to a submissiveness that people had to have to someone else. That someone was a superior over that person. That's why it's called white supremacy. That's why they have a white advantage. So you have to understand, there's a connect the dots. If we pull that dot out, it won't connect correctly. We have to let that we have to let the line lay as it was laid, and to bring them back to the why. Because for some reason, when you talk to them, either they don't know history, or they're children of immigrants themselves, or they don't really give a rat's ass about your history. But I let white people know Black history is not Black history, it's American history. And until you learn American history, you'll never understand a nation of suppressed people like ourselves. Let's continue on. Hold on, people.
Leverage power. LLCs, that's corporations, and utilizing the government as leverage like other minorities have done. Because that is what he is truly talking about. Let me share with you a quick video. I'm going to get your take on this, both of you gentlemen. We talk about leveraging as minorities in this country.
Government contracting and minority-owned status. Hi, and welcome back to the Tender Stage channel. Maybe you've heard about minority-owned status before. Maybe you've heard of the AA Business Development Program and wondered if it would help you get a leg up on the competition. Or maybe you're new to the whole idea of government contracting and want to know how you can make it work for you. Whatever your goals, you're probably interested in the set-aside funds and micro-purchases the federal government has ready for small businesses like yours. Before I mention anything else, 5% of the federal government's contracting budget is reserved for minority-owned businesses. To give you an idea of how much money that is, bear in mind that $23.85 billion were set aside for minority-owned businesses in 2011 alone.
So let me stop real quick.
Okay, so we use the word minority, right?
Wow.
This goes back to what Mel was talking about. She hates that word, and I do too. But the problem is everyone has encroached upon this money that was set aside a long time before all of us were born. But guess what? Everybody else is getting a piece of this. How much do you think we get of this, you guys?
Nothing.
Melba says zero.
No, I said zero.
I just
damn it.
I just know it's zero. I know it is based on the language that is used. I know it's zero because that's how it's designed. It's designed for us not to get anything.
No,
and
I understand.
we have to be
it
more
wasn't originally designed for them. It was designed for us. We didn't utilize it, and someone else did. That's what I want you to understand. You keep thinking these things are all set up to destroy us. In some aspects, they are.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm looking at that word minority. That word minority is designated as an open invitation.
It was the
that
word
is
that
not
was
an
used to us.
exclusive
I
word.
agree with you on that. I'm agreeing with you. But I want you to understand, before NAFTA, you know what NAFTA was, right? Do you know NAFTA? Do you understand NAFTA?
Absolutely. Bill Clinton did it. Yeah, I know.
Okay, you understand DACA and immigrants and illegal immigrants and migrants and EB-5 visas. These people flooded and they said, where do we fit? Where do we fit? Oh, you're a minority, which means you're not the majority. Oh, okay. Well, then we get this money. Yeah, this money qualifies for you. That's the problem. They encroached.
That is the problem.
That's the problem. So we need to set within government, okay, if you're going to have set asides, then clarify a portion clearly like you did for the Native Americans. The $8 billion for COVID is for Native American tribes.
What word are we using for that now?
We ain't using no word, Negro. Hold on a second. You're a minority. Hold on.
Wait, I want you to understand. Now pay attention, get the thumbs up button, and I want to go a little deeper into understanding this. The word minority was originally set for Black people. Originally, its origin, minority meant Black. But it expanded and it went from Black to white women to LGBTQ to immigrants to migrants. And you took this percentage of the $23 million. Imagine a pie you hold in your hand.
Billion.
For $23.85 billion, excuse me, not million, $1 billion. Imagine that in your hand. Now you've got to give slices away. The Latinos come in, they take a good chunk. The Armenians come in, the Chinese take more than half of that chunk. Remember, this original sweet potato pie you hold in your hand was set aside for you. But because of
Did you know
of the utilization of government that had this set aside for you, the Indians come in and they also get a piece of that sweet potato pie. So fast forward, this is what you're dealing with. You're not getting all your money and you're not getting pretty much nothing now. You're not a minority. You're just an aftermath.
In order to be competitive for that exclusive share of government contracts, businesses must not only be registered with the System for Award Management, but also apply and be accepted for registration under minority-owned status. So it's definitely worth your while to consider it. I want to give you a quick overview of minority-owned status and give you an idea of whether or not your organization qualifies. I'll tell you a little about the registration process and keep you informed on some of the added benefits of minority-owned status.
So let's stop right here. Tomorrow, what's your thought? They're talking about Sam in this video a little bit. You see
I'll pause it. Go ahead, Melvin. What are you trying?
I'm trying to, before I forget my thought, if I am so allowed, the person that constructed the legislation for affirmative action actually did write black people. And what had occurred was that he received opposition about using the specific word black people, or a term rather, black people. And he was faced with a decision as to whether or not he would compromise with utilizing the term quote unquote minority. And that's why I call it a setup from the beginning. They knew that to give us a distinguished, for us to actually have exclusivity is dangerous. It's like if we give them exclusivity, then there is no way for us to control them. And so that's what I'm saying. It was a setup from the very beginning, because the legislation that the gentleman wrote up actually indicated black people. And they said, we're not going to pass it with you calling it black people. You're going to have to call it something else. And he said, okay, we'll call it minority. And next thing you know, everybody who is a quote unquote minority, is over, they getting over. You see what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
Or here, I didn't mean to sound like LL Cool J right then, but I just wanted to assert my thought. And I appreciate the time.
So let me say this, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Being black in America is like being in a maze. And let me explain my maze. My maze has 3 types of maze. It's the story of Alice in Wonderland, which has always been a freaked out story to me, between the red pill and the little pill and chasing the damn rabbit and the queen saying off with her head. Another part of the maze is when I was a little girl and I used to go to those carnivals that would move around town. And for some reason, I was always fascinated by the mirror maze, where you would walk through this thing and you had to figure out how to get through. And you would push the mirror and kind of figure out, okay, do I go this way or that way? Because it was all reflecting all back on you. And the way I learned how to get through that maze, you look on the bottom of your floor and you look at the footprints, and that's how you get out. And the final maze I think about is also a garden maze, where you're walking in and you're hitting hedges, kind of like Harry Potter, where you're going through this maze. White America has always set up a maze because America was never made for black people. Let me make this clear.
Yes.
America never was made for black people. We were commodity, and we're still commodity today. So this day, hold on, let me finish my thought. So when you make the statement that you did, you are correct. But what I want you to understand is now they're saying we're the melting pot. You remember when you look at Schoolhouse Rock, it says, we the people in order for the more perfect. Oh, we're a melting pot. Well, that pot really is melting just for them. Mm-hmm. But they've got to throw some crumbs on the table. You ain't gonna ever own the pot. You ain't gonna never own the factory. You're gonna get the crumbs. But there's so many rats and roaches eating our crumbs that we're missing it. Now, was this designed for our failure or for our limitation? Absolutely, because we were never designed from the origin of the foundation. When you go back, we were brought as commodity. I want you to understand, I respect where you're coming, sister. But what I want you to understand, on our platform, what we like to do is speak our truth and provide you ways through the maze. And what this brother is trying to teach us in this particular video, you guys can go back and watch it, Dead Black People, COVID-19, why reopening America again, Trump 2020. What I want you to understand, under this capitalist administration, we need to utilize 88 certifications. And he's talking about certifications that we need to make sure we have in place. Now, the reason these foreign people are able to advance is because they learn the game. They learn the game. And I'm not discrediting what you're saying. Oh my God, this is great, but there's so many things that they said that we're supposed to get, but we're not.
Well, I'm not politically savvy, so I don't know.
No, but you're correct in your actions and how you're speaking your truth. There are a lot of people who are like you who feel the same way. And so all we're saying is, look, if we've got to work through this damn maze, which is still going to always be set up to try to get us to go down a rabbit hole or be crabs in the barrel, what we need to realize is let's get these certifications. Let's get these things that we need to have in place. If more Black people had 8 certifications and understood governmental contracts and understood the grants better, we would be a better culture of people infrastructure wise, so that we could do our businesses and have our businesses and resell our business to our own people. But we can't even do that because other people are leveraging through EB-5 visas and coming in with their money into our country, pushing us out and having us be consumers. We consume everybody else's work and worth. We get our nails done through them. We buy our hairs through them. We get our clothes cleaned through them. We eat their food. They eat our food. They eventually they have Chinese soul foods and Chinese soul food and Mexican soul food. We can't even make our own food anymore. And we don't even buy from ourselves. We need to be conscious that we are on the verge of extinction and erasing. They're verge of erasing us. So how do we fix that? We fix that by having conversations like these and sharing this video and getting a thumbs up and then rewatching this video again and breaking it down, making it more palatable for yourself. But you have to leave having hope that there's definitely another way, because we know all the other ways and we know the traps that are about to embark upon us and that what we live within. Tammy Taylor, give me your thoughts. Tammy is in Alabama. She's Urban Game Changers and Executive Director. She's also the head and committee of African American descendants of Negro slaves. Tammy really knows how to feel and think of what we're going through, and it really supports what Mel B was talking about. Look, we have a situation. We need to clarify who we are. If we don't have that clarification, we're going to fail, and we have to have that clarification. Tammy, I know you're out there. What's your thought on this?
Well, I'm actually, we've been on the heels on this for a very long time, and I'm just right now at the state where we all just need to get on one accord. We all need to present this documentation and present it now, this executive order rather, and everyone, even us that's on this call, the listeners on this video and the listeners, we need everybody to start having these conversations on their Facebook, on their Instagram, on their Twitter, hashtagging Urban Game Changers. The funny thing is, I was looking at an interview on I think it was Vlad TV, and Talib Kweli, a rapper, was being interviewed. And he was also talking about ADOS and made some points about how the another group, ADOS, was talking about immigrants and how he was an immigrant, and that they did not want to include immigrants. And I mean, I believe that we should not include the immigrants in this discussion, and if they support it, that's fine. But there is, like you all said, there is like a distinctiveness to what we're discussing here, and I could tell Talib Kweli feelings was hurt in a sense, and but some of them, we have to get people to understand exactly what this is all about. It's about preserving our ancestral lineage. It is truly embedded within American history. It is American history. It is rooted up with American history. You can't run away from it. And you have to acknowledge it when you're talking about American history. It's part of it, down to our first president, George Washington, to the founding fathers who created the United States Constitution, which included our ancestors, and talk about the birthright of the descendants. They talk about us. It's embedded into the United States Constitution, so you can't run away from it. It's literally there, and we must be talking about these conversations and moving forward. Right now, I'm looking if the White House or our president is not willing to step forward and go forward with it, I said we will probably end up having to sue the government and really take it by force. So I think we all need to be having this conversation. Like, as we said, this is not what Democrat, Marxist, liberals are talking about. This is totally different from what they're talking about. But in order to take our country back, we have to take back America by having this discussion, because that's how they were able to run with history, conjure it all up to what they're plugging into kids, indoctrinated our kids within these schools, and dressing it up, making stuff up. Now they're destroying history, trying to tell it the way they want to tell it, but you can't turn away from it because it's already embedded in American history. But this is what's going to restore our nation, by actually doing what's right by the African-American descendants of Negro slaves. This is how we're going to fix it. We always need to be talking about it. I mean, I talk about so many things on my page, but I'm always making it a point to talk about this very thing. We all need to be talking about it every day. Every time you're talking to someone, your legislators, when you run into your congressman, this is the conversation we all need to be having with them and getting them on board with getting this into the hands of the president. Even when you do interviews, this is the conversation that needs to be had every day, all day.
I'm going to play a small tidbit of this interview I did with Phil. Again, I'll put all these links below at the end of this video. And we're talking about set-asides. Of course, we all talked about reparations. We talked about executive orders and use that terminology than reparations. But the more pressing matter on the table for Black Americans is COVID-19. 30 to 40% of the people who have been affected by COVID-19 are African American people. And like we said, $8 billion was set aside for Native Americans. We're not getting any of those set asides. Right now, I'm a real estate developer. I'm back and forth between Los Angeles and Texas. In Temple, Texas, I'm dealing with almost 100 people right now, who have no running water. They're bringing gallons of water in. They have one outlet and they're able to plug in. They're just making enough money so they can pay their taxes, so they're not homeless and in detriment like California is. So my question to all of us, I have to say, are we doing better? Because if we're not, then we need to have money allotted and set aside. And then if you say you're going to set aside money for them, why won't you do it for us? It's because we do not ask. We expect someone to take care of us like children. Ain't nobody going to take care of us. Ain't nobody give a rat's ass about Black people. I'm going to be honest with you. They just don't, because we don't care about ourselves. We need to be just as strategic and structured as they are. I'm going to play a little bit of this video just to get your thoughts on it. But when you have a chance, go to Phil's channel, the African Diaspora channel. This is it right here. And this is the video. We did really well, but we talked about our piece of legislation that me and Tammy talked about, the Urban Game Changers family that we're putting together to address this matter.
Or talk to me a little bit about, who you are, what you have going on.
My name is Shirley Hussar. I'm the CEO of Urban Game Changers, where we go in the urban communities and we hold elected officials accountable as well as ourselves. As you know, family, we are in a pandemic right now. COVID-19 has gone across the world globally and has affected us globally, economically, socially, and mentally. In the Black community, let me make this clear to you, in the Black community within the United States, 30 to 40% of the people who have been affected by COVID-19 in our community have been affected. That's right, we're 13% of the population, yet 30 to 40% of the population has been affected by COVID-19. Now, the Trump administration, as well as the government and the local officials, local, state, and federal, are making their efforts to compensate through PPP loans and different SBA loans. But the problem is, within the Black community, a lot of that data, a lot of that income and money is not getting to our people. So today's show is going to talk about solutions and money and conversation, because it is crucial that we come together as a whole, as a collective, with ideologies and ideas that stand united. That we do not focus on Republican or Democrat, but that we focus on solution for the whole diaspora of Africans across the country. African American people in California are down to 6%. We are 80% homeless downtown Los Angeles. Gavin Newsom, who is our governor, has not made an effort to help African American. He's allotted $125 million towards illegal immigrants. That's right. Illegals are getting money. Immigrants are getting money. The Native Americans just got allotted from the Trump administration $8 billion. $8 billion for the Native Americans. And then they just sat down with the tribal leaders 2 days ago with President Trump, and they allotted more millions of dollars towards them. The LGBT are working with the FEMA. They also will be getting money. Now, what we're finding is that there are many other cultures, societies, groups who are able to advocate for money, but when it comes to African American people, there is a new terminology within government, and they're calling us people of color. They're calling us minorities. Now, Phil and I do not like those terms. We always try to make sure we inform our people, because we are the real Black news. We want to inform you that to talk and say, hey, to say we're minority and say we're people of color and the Black and the brown and the Asian and the Black, and everyone leverages off of us. And that is the problem. So today, me and Phil are going to talk about solution. There is an African American task force that came together, that we put together with Urban Game Changers and the African Diaspora Channel, and we're calling ourselves the African American Descendants of Negro Slaves. And the African American Descendants of Negro Slaves were put together for a petition for an advisory board for the President of the United States. We are coming together collectively with ideas and solutions to talking about an executive order that needs to be put in place for our people. If 13% of the population is affected by COVID-19, why do you have $500 billion, nearly $500 billion and more that has been scattered abroad? We're not getting the majority of that money. We're not getting the percentage to contain and deal with our community, because our community is the most effective and most hit by. But the problem within Black community is not just white people or Republicans or Democrats, it's Black people. Black politicians, Black athletes, Black celebrities. We are asking for you to step up to the plate and start coming together as a collective, because we're finding out that you only have so much of your own money, but the federal government has allotted all these other areas to be taken care of, and we are not. For example, the Small Business Administration has a couple clauses in there that are very pertinent to understand, that we are not going to be able to get the small business loans for our Black businesses, people who have had felons. If you are a past felon, you will not be allotted to get an SBA loan. So that means that you and all the crew that you hire, mostly like people that look like you, which looks like us, are not going to be allotted money because of the past felon. There's little things like that that need to be addressed. When we talk about free trade and labor, what we're finding under this administration, the Trump administration, is that there's a lot of people who are converted from Democrat to Republican. There's nothing wrong with that. If they want to do that, that's fine. Here's the problem. People look at African American people as problematic anyway. So they put problems and they put programs for the solution. We are tired of the program, problem, solution antic. What we need is labor. We need the Department of Interior to step up to the plate like they did for the Native Americans. I want to encourage African Americans across the country to go to the Department of Interior. I want you to see with the Native Americans, a sovereign nation of people who are more respected, and we are the lowest of the low. They are putting immigrants, illegal immigrants, LGBT, liberal, crazy white women who hate everyone else on the table but us. We have allowed ourselves to be pushed to the bottom of the totem pole. We have allowed ourselves to have other people speak for us, and we cannot speak for ourselves. We are treated as a child within government, and no longer do we need programs and problematic solutions. We need money. We need money, but we need money to go to small businesses. We need money to talk about free trades. We need money to go towards people who have established businesses or want to start businesses, or who just cannot take care of themselves in the sense of moving their communities forward. You have to empower the community movers. You have to empower, again, the community movers. I'm not talking about just cutting a check. The federal government did that, and I'm very grateful for the Trump administration. But I do believe what has happened is the advisors for the Trump administration are failing this president. This president is not hearing from people like me and like Phil, and will no longer tolerate and sit back on the sideline and allot for these people to have prevalence over everyone else. So we're asking today that we want to discuss with Phil a new alliance that we put on the table called the Executive Order requesting for the African American descendants of slaves. We're requesting COVID-19, in particular, the pains. We have to deal with our pains first. Now, I know we've talked about reparations in the past, but I'm talking about the COVID-19 issue that's in front of us, because we are a culture of people that are so devastated that we could lose our preservation within this country.
And I'm going to stop it right there. Closing words. We're going to have 5 more minutes. I'm going to give everybody 3 minutes of thought. I want to thank you all so much for watching our show. We are now 3 hours and 38 minutes. I have not slept at all, but I was just so on fire to talk about wealth and opportunity and mindset. And each one of the panelists have been wonderful. Melba, Sean, and Flagship, and Tammy. We've absorbed a lot tonight. We've talked about D.L. Hughley. We've talked about wealthy homes and locations for Black Americans, the presidency, how that's affecting us, COVID-19, and monies that are set aside. Where do we go in all of this? Well, tonight we've shared every aspect from every level. Now here is the embedded command I want to leave you with. I want you to take charge, watch this video again, and put yourself on the front line and look at that COVID mirror, because you are that mirror that you need to look at. You need to look at your life. You need to get your mind right, and you need to make a decision on how you're going to set aside some opportunities in the midst of this chaos. Because like I told you before, there's no profit in the cure. So if there's no profit in the cure, nobody gets a rat's ass about Black Americans. The only ones going to help Black Americans are you. The only ones going to help your people are you. Because it's like what Melba said. She said she didn't like the fact that they cultivate other cultures, help each other out. That's not fair. That's nepotism. Well, that's American. That's nepotism is American. When we talked about the Rothschild family in previous videos, go back and watch that. It's always the intertwining of who you know and what you know and where do you go from there. But you all are intelligent, confident, vivacious people. You know the answer to that. And the question that you need to do is, how do you execute it? I'm gonna give each one of you guys 2 minutes in closing, and I'll close with Tammy in prayer. But Melba, we'll start with you since you're our newest guest. Can you give your final thoughts on tonight's show, or what you did gather from the time with us here?
All right. Why are you calling me Melba?
I'm sorry, Mela. Look, it's late in the morning. I apologize, but go ahead and just.
All right. With that having been said,
I apologize.
No, it was just a curiosity. With that having been said, what I would assert for my humble 2 minutes or less is that we are viewed as a docile people. That's why we are steamrolled over, for the most part, when it comes to this government. And until we understand that our people are the engine that keeps this country moving, and enact ourselves in a way that enforces what we are actually designated to possess in glory for ourselves, we're just going to sit back and remain complacent. Hopefully not, hopefully that will not continue to be the case. However, that is the past behavior amongst our people. We have been complacent enough to eventually find ourselves being classified in the minds of other ethnicities as docile. That's why they look at us with a sense of hilarity and satire. What else have we done? So with that having been said, it is time to put thoughts into action. I understand how important the conversations are. What's the action behind it? What's really happening? There has to be something that's happening other than talking. Talking is what has gotten us classified in the minds of other ethnicities as a docile people. They say to themselves, and trust me, I know, all they doing is talking. That's what they say. And to some degree, is that not the truth? All we're doing is talking. What's the action behind it that propels us to the glory that we so deserve as a people? What I would say is to make sure that we start a structure in communicating amongst ourselves. It can begin once a week within your community, where the congregation, and I'm not talking about church, I'm talking about actual, community centers where people are pressured, dare I say, damn near kidnapped. Like you showing up for the neighborhood meeting this week
Yeah,
on
30
Friday
seconds.
night. You have to actually, intimidate your young people and people that depend, like that those young people that depend on you for sustenance. You drag them. Yeah, I said drag. Take them to those weekly community meetings and make sure they're being fed inspiration of the ferociousness that it takes to be inspired enough to pursue greatness. We're just born to be great, and it's very frustrating when other
15 seconds.
ethnicities look at us like we're docile. That's very frustrating to me. I hope we can talk again. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for being on. It really means a lot. Sean, I know you're at work. You can take 2 minutes, 2 minutes or less. But Sean, go ahead and give your thoughts.
Hello, yeah, thanks for having me on. Yes, I'm at home. I'm working here at home, but I didn't come on expecting to actually talk. I was just going to listen while I work, and
I love you chiming in though. You've been dropping some golden nuggets, girl. Everybody's been wonderful tonight. You
yeah,
all have been just
a
wonderful
great
people.
conversation. Thank you. And I don't know. I may have a different outlook on everything. But the main thing that I believe that people have to do, especially in our community, is to get back to depending on God rather than men. Than mankind. He's given us all gifts and abilities to attain and maintain wealth, to take care of ourselves and our families, and we have to get back to that. We have to get back to our moral compass. There was a time when black men would not accept anything from anyone. They would work maybe 3 4 jobs. They would do whatever they could because there was a sense of pride in taking care of their families, and we've gotten away from that. Um, Regardless of what the government does or doesn't do, at the end of the day, I believe that if we depend on God, He will make sure that we have everything that we need, and then some of the things that we want. So if that's wealth or business, whatever it is, it's all for His glory. So that's my take. That's kind of like what I got from everything. I do believe that there are many problems within our communities that have to be addressed. Um, you know, God can't bless mess. So there are a lot of different sin issues that we have to address as a collective that we've just turned a blind eye to, from sexual sins, um, and as I mentioned before, the violence, and just because you're poor, that I don't know how that equates to violence, or how that equates to women feeling that they have to kill their own children. Um, but we have to get back to God. I believe Jesus is the answer for everything, and that's I guess, my 2 cents.
Thank you, Miss Shawn. You're wonderful as well. Another beautiful sister that shared her heart and put it out there. That's the purpose of our platforms, to have great people like you come in, and everyone has the right to speak their truth as long as we're respectful and cordial with one another. But we want to leave people with something to move forward with, and you definitely put that out on the table. So thank you so much and we look forward to you coming back. Flagship, you're next, and we're going to end up closing out with Tammy.
Oh, I just want to thank you very much for the show. And I think one of the biggest issues, there's a lot of religion going around. But one of the big things that I think that we need to do is we need to get rid of these damn liberals and this liberal mindset and these damn and these damn attachment groups that every time we get moving, there's someone, oh, well, we're gonna just join you because we're all gonna do it together. But then when the economics come around, they get a special set aside for them. But then we get a photo op, bump all of that. We need to kick everyone to the freaking curb. Period. Point blank. The end. We need to start picking our own leaders. I'm sick and tired of these liberals picking our leaders and giving them to us. They gave us Obama. They gave us Keisha Bottoms. They gave us Lori Lightfoot. These are the most diabolical people in our communities right now who are doing nothing for us, but things for everybody else. And so I think that what we need to do is, I'm not a religious person because I have my own issues with Jesus. Because remember, Jesus was around during slavery and convict leaks and all this stuff is happening. So, I mean, I'm not going to go into a religious aspect of it. I'm going to leave that for y'all. But I mean, as long as the solution comes to us being economically empowered, that's the solution that I need. And that's where we need to go. And we need to get all these other separate groups out of here.
Well, I appreciate you speaking your truth because you definitely always do. I love you. I love me some Flagship. You are definitely on fire tonight, as you always are. And, for those of us who are Christians, I will say this regarding the spirituality. There is a spiritual warfare that we are in. And I'm sure you will agree with that, even if you're not a religious person. And knowing that we're trying to bring that balance and that knowledge to the table so that there's a clarity about it. That's why people say we pray. But, faith without works is dead. That's what the scripture says. Action speaks louder than words, my family. And we're doing that action. That's why we have Urban Game Changers. So make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. If you want personal videos or if you want to do a one-on-one, you can email us. And also Tammy is in Alabama. I have executive directors all around the countries, and they are growing. So it starts with us first, and then it moves into exactly what Flagship says. Look, we've got bad legislators. We have bad policies. We have bad leaders. We have bad police officers. And it's our rights that they've encroached upon. They're taking our set-asides. My question to you is, when are we going to wake up and do something to make a difference in that? And that's why we do these videos, so that we do have that. Thank you, Flagships. And I'm going to let Tammy go ahead. Tammy, go ahead and give your final thoughts, and I'll let you pray and close it out.
Well, everything was said in this video, and my only final thought is that we just get on one accord. This is spiritual warfare, and we can't be fighting this battle with carnal weapons. And let's just let's be about our business. Let's be about our Father's business. The minute we get back to being about our Father's business, I know everything else will fall into place. And this is a good start to the COVID-19 task force. And I think we can start really doing something with this. And that's all I have.
No, I appreciate that. I think the bottom line is that we don't leave our minds just open and just kind of going with the flow. We cannot be sheep led to the slaughter. Write that down. I am not going to be a sheep led to a slaughter, because that's what we're doing right now. We're leading and lending our minds to the slaughterhouse. But we need to pull ourselves out of the slaughterhouse. We need to get out of the groups of the packs of sheep that do not want to move forward and be with people like ourselves and kindred spirits. Like, make sure you watch the African Diaspora channel. Make sure that you watch Black Excellence. I'll put that link down below. Make sure that you watch T West, and make sure you watch Afro Synergy News. T West. He's an amazing person, wonderful man of God, loves his family, loves his wife and kids. He's a good man. And he really wants to make sure that we as African-American people do good and put Black family first. That's why we always say BF1, not just B1, but BF1. But if we are going to be the leaders and we're going to be in the sheep herd, we don't want to lead the people in our tribe to the slaughterhouse, the mindset slaughterhouse. What we were able to accomplish tonight was a clarification of where we are and what we need to do. I'm going to do another video, and I'm going to talk in the future about Black banks and where are you putting your money and how you're investing it. I'm not an investment banker, but I can tell you there's the dealings that we should do and that we shouldn't do. Because see, what we are learning with this administration as a capitalist administration, and what we're learning in life right now in America, everything that we learn has turned upside down. We all have to admit that. It's all turned upside down. As long as you realize that, you'll do well. When you still are operating under those old antics, like Jonathan, who came on earlier, them old people telling you to get a degree and do this and do that, and you still are broke, and you're not cultivating relationship with wealthy people. They might be a billionaire or millionaire that you work with in your community, and that you cross-pollinated and you didn't take advantage of that. You need to take advantage of your opportunity and be excited about it so that you can send the blessings out to someone else. But if you can't put the oxygen mask on yourself, how are you going to be able to help somebody else? You can't. So be conscious of that, so that tomorrow and today, as you wake up new every morning, God will enlighten you and show you and waken you to a new tomorrow, and that we can come through this on top in Jesus' name. That we as African American people can no longer be adhered to the woes of the past, but that in the future we will see a new America for African American descendants of Negro slaves. Tammy, go ahead and pray us out of here so we can all either go to bed or go to work and go to church. Go ahead.
Well, Father God, we just want to exalt you. We lift your name on high, Lord. We just thank you for you just being you, Father. Lord, we just thank you for this conversation today with our brothers and sisters, discussing our ancestors and descendants of Negro slaves. Lord, we come to you in prayer asking that you begin to soften the hearts and heal the hearts of our African American people within this community who are hurting all over this nation, Father God, and allow them to see you, to know that you are Lord. Lord, we thank you for all that you are doing in our lives and all that you are about to do. And we thank you for this conversation of different people coming from different sides of the aisle, in knowledge and truth. And we thank you. We thank everyone here. We pray special blessings over everyone's inheritance, over everyone's territory, in the name of Jesus. And Lord, as we go upon our day today, we ask that you just continue to watch over us, our children, even our husbands, our spouses. We ask that you continue to just watch over us. And we just thank you for you being you and for loving us and for dying for us. And all this we ask in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. Hey, you guys, make sure you get the thumbs up and share this video on groups. Put it in all the groups on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and make sure you have the discussion. Where is Black wealth going? And the money is from COVID-19. And make sure you sign up on Urban Game Changers on Facebook, Alabama, California, New York, Washington, D.C. Find the closest state towards you. We have discussions on those pages. And if you're interested in being an executive director, make sure you DM me or Tammy, and we will talk about interviewing you. Our goal is to have an executive director in 50 states. We're almost up to 20 now, so we have 30 more states that need to be filled in. The more we know, the more we grow. Remember that. The more we know, the more we grow. Until next time, good morning, good night, good evening. I love you guys. Continue to keep a smile on your face and keep your head up. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.